Okay, we're live. This is the weekly Sunday comic chat with Terrence and Rasa. Anyone who watches my channel who maybe a newer subscriber might not know these two because they have been around in YouTube as long as I have. So I have put links down below for the ComicKkrakk channel, which is Terrence, and the LahRasa channel, which is Rasa. What else? The other thing you need to know is they're really cool. The hip kids. And we're all in different time zones. So Ross is about to fall asleep.
Yeah. They're just waking up.
And I've just finished my lunch, and Terrence is thinking about what's coming for dinner.
Yeah.
Well, not quite yet, but he will be by the end of the show.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you guys have a good week in comics?
I've read a bunch. I actually read a bunch. But too much, I think. My brain is exploding. Yeah, because
you put too much in your head and you can't sort it out.
That's my reading stack, so
nice.
it's quite a bit, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't usually tend to read as like I kind of like trying to be a slower reader now, even though I am a slow reader already, but just to absorb everything I can. So, but this month I received my books from last month, so it's all just went on top of everything. It's like, oh, I want to talk to you about this one, and I get that excitement again back when I used to be doing this kind of stuff. So it's like, I was like, why am I putting pressure on myself? It's like, what's going on in here? But it's just like I like sharing what I read, and especially when you have all the comment, like you guys chat about that stuff, it makes me more excited about comic books in general. So.
Yeah, definitely. That's why we do it, right? We all get excited by chatting about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Entertainment. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And did you pick up a big haul today, Terrence? Because I saw something on Twitter that looked like a lot of comics.
Yeah, I hit. So yesterday I went and traded in a bunch of stuff, and I got a small stack of things, including just as a little teaser, 3 issues of this Essential Vertigo Swamp Thing. So it does the black and white.
Love those.
Yeah, I never see them around.
Yeah.
So I was lucky to find 3 of those. And then today we went to a flea market that's close by my place. A friend of mine, Dan, he's got a place, Mad Cat Comics. Mm-hmm. He had out a ton of back issue bins. So there were some bins where it was like $5 for $1, that sort of thing. So I started digging through those, and I easily could have spent another hour there. I think I ended up spending about $20 and got a nice stack of books. So I'm excited. But yeah.
Did your daughter grab some books too?
She found one. Yeah, I found one for her. It's really mixed, those bins there. There's a lot more stuff that she's just not really interested in. There wasn't a ton of like kid-friendly comics in there. And he actually had to hide one box because it had some adult material in it. So that went up a little higher out of view kind of thing, right? Because he buys these big collections and then, pulls out the big books, and then everything else goes in 25 cents a book or 50 cents a book. And, but he's got a lot of really, really good stuff. But you do have to dig because he doesn't sort anything. So it's DC, and then behind it will be some 80s indie, and then it'll be like Marvel, and then it'll be some Image, and, all of this stuff just mixed into one box. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which I love personally. I enjoy doing that stuff. But yeah.
I'm jealous. I want to dig comic book boxes. I don't have money, but I don't have money, but I just want to just look in the boxes. Come on, man.
Yeah.
It's like I have my comic book budget is shrinking slowly. Yeah. It's not because of there's some sort of other priorities, like I keep on telling every single time, but
yeah.
Kind of like I see you guys, it's just like that addiction. That's what YouTube always has done. Like you see guys like showing those comics, like, oh shit, I want that kind of thing. I really want to read this, but like,
yeah, that's the downside, is that you want to spend too much money.
Yeah,
you get to talk about comics and get excited about them, and then spend too much.
Well, it's like entertainment. You buy whatever you do. Like you watch, like people watch TV shows and stuff like that. In a way, in that sense, kind of comic books these days, especially if we're talking about like key issues, then it would be a very expensive expenses for you to just buy a comic book you'll get excited about. Especially just like simple stuff like, like that television show WandaVision exploded, a book nobody cared about. It's like,
that's right.
Yeah, West
Right.
Coast Avengers? Who? What? What are you talking about? And then I was like, oh shit, it's like £60 a book. Like, oh, whoa, what is happening? So
Never mind that. Have you seen the graded versions? There's some I've been seeing popping up for like $1,500 that issue, like in the 9.8 or whatever, and people are like, you can buy the actual first appearance of Vision in a decent grade for that amount of money. Forget about that one West Coast Avengers or whatever, right? But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Luckily, I'm happy reading them all on Marvel Unlimited as WandaVision leads me through my Wanda Unlimited these days.
Yeah.
Reading them with my daughter. Actually, we've read a bunch of Avengers now.
That's cool.
That's great.
We have a lot of great people here with us. We have solid 4 ST Benz, Shannon, who's been in the YouTube community a long time. Agu Rhythm, who is a cool guy who I've met in person once. He lives up in Seattle. And Jack Yo, who
of course,
Jack in Tennessee
Mr.
or
Yo.
Kentucky. I can't remember which, but Mr. Yo has been around a long time. And Eric, Longbox Review, who's
nice.
Does the podcast Longbox Review, and the Gray Man, who does 30 videos a day.
Whoa.
I'm joking, but he seems to do more than one video a day.
Yeah.
And Chaos and Comics was here. I don't know if he's still here. Kentucky, Jack Yo's in Kentucky. Sorry, I always get Kentucky and Tennessee mixed up in my head. So, do you want to talk first about something you read, Rasa, before you fall asleep?
Yeah, I'm about to, So why don't we just talk about sex, eh? I didn't speak. Oh my God, camera! I don't know what's wrong with me today. I'm tired. Anyway, I have finished. I've never talked about actually this one because of the. I don't know. We kind of missed it, and we have that beautiful car. So I'm trying to. I was enjoying this comic book quite a lot at the beginning, but this art changing all the time. It's actually bothers me now. I lose concentration in the story because I keep on like exploring the artist and stuff like that. In general, it should be fine, but let's not show too much gropey scenes. Maybe this comic book have there you go. There's nothing in here, just a conversation. A few pages before that was like
you can show pretty adult stuff on my channel if you want. It's up to you.
Okay. Thank you for the permission. So there you go. The purple thingies.
The purple orgy.
Orgy, yeah, exactly. So that's a wake-up call for somebody. So yeah, I was reading that, and then this last issue came out. This one, this past month, I guess. That's what I should say it. And this artist, of course, is one of my favorites because he's drawing Deadly Class. So I actually enjoyed this issue more than I did the previous one, and it's actually, I don't know what to think of it anymore, to be honest. I enjoy it. It's that in this issue is more enjoyable for me because of kind of like, in a way, understood a little bit of what's comeback is going to be kind of like. Do you know what I mean? You guys read this issue? Did you read it? Did you read?
I read the one before. I haven't read that one yet.
I loved that one because of the artist, but it made me with Wes Craig. Yeah, it made me decide to take it off my pull list and just buy it when there's an artist that I want. Yeah, because I don't feel like the story is that important to me. I loved it when Wes Craig was doing it way more than any of the other artists so far.
Exactly. The first guy who drew, I forgot his name now. He was he started it with the comic book and I really enjoyed it. But Wes Craig it's perfect for this issue because it was full on action storyline. I'm not going to much say, but honestly, I'm kind of debating myself that what is this, issue 5? I think it's like almost like to the end of the story arc, and I think I'm going to trade away it now because it just doesn't give me enough of the excitement anymore, to be honest. It's just all that things we already seen. It's nothing giving me too much of these powers. I mean, actually no, you kind of find out who actually made that power, the power, that liquid. We ingested it, so we found out about that, a bit of a history in there. So he did open the book, but in general, I don't know, I'm just losing enjoyment out of this anymore
yeah.
because of the I think because every single issue is a different artist, and that just doesn't give me cohesiveness. And I want that kind of. I want I like one writer and one artist in the comic book for a very long period of time. Like Wes Craig and Rick Remender and Deadly Class, they continue being the same guys, even though Deadly Class has been having breaks, and I don't know, Rick Remender is maybe losing his touch, or he just wants to take a rest from doing that stuff and then doing this. But it's very, I know, like political parts in it. I don't really care. We have seen it in news media, and that they touched upon that kind of thing. Like you have leaders, peace and stuff like that. I don't know if I want in my comic books that. I have a daily intake already from the news, even though I try not to watch news daily, but it's enough if I want to. Just the minute I switch on, I get that feel of that kind of stuff. So it's kind of upsetting, to be honest, because I do enjoy Rick Remender in general, but I just lost it. Lost
one of the things that
go on.
One of the things that stood out for me with issue 4 that I was kind of hoping he would explore more. Again, I haven't read the newest issue because issue 3 didn't really work for me. Issue 4 started to work for me a little bit because I feel like he has a real good opportunity to use that character to make fun of all sides of the political spectrum, which is kind of what he did a little bit in issue 4. There was jabs at both the left and the right. And I hear you not necessarily wanting politics in the comics. I kind of wanted that. I kind of thought that that's what it was going to be, this chance for him to just kind of explore this. I'm sick and tired of all of it, so I'm just going to cut down everybody, you know what I mean? All political viewpoints with this character who's this scumbag. And I was kind of interested in that idea. So and like I said, issue 4 picked up just a little bit for me, where I enjoyed that a little more than I did number 3, but I'm pretty much in the same boat with you guys. Like, I haven't been down to the comic shop to get my new comics in a couple of weeks. And honestly, I'm not in any rush to read it. So already I have that feeling as well. That's like, it was good. It's, it was fine at the beginning and enjoyable and everything. But I think for me, part of it was there didn't seem to be a focus just yet. I know that a story is going to take a little bit to find its footing or whatever, but I don't know. I guess I was really hoping that he would take this character and just make fun of everybody. You know what I mean? Really use it as like that, Yeah,
well, the thing is, with this, I wanted more of the character, like the history himself. We had the glimpse of it in the first issue with like introducing to him kind of in a way. And then we haven't really got that kind of more like understanding of his background. At the end of the day, yes, he's like go-free-lucky guy in the same way. Maybe I'm overly trying to make it like like a real story, because it doesn't feel like it's a real story written. It's just like satire, kind of a comic. Yeah, exactly. Well, so
I'm kind of the opposite of you. I want them to go deeper into the satire and the absurdity and not give us any of the reality. Like, make it really over the top. And it feels like it goes up to the edge and then it pulls back, goes up to the edge and pulls back. So, but I could see wanting it the other way and having it a real story of like what's really going on with this guy who's such a scumbag.
Well, the thing is, it would be good to get all the kind of snippets more, because that the whole like going to do his like 007 things happened in 5 issues, which is quite of a prolonged story just to get a couple of action scenes, to be honest, in 5 issues. And we haven't jumped anywhere like where you go, okay, maybe it's really like you give you that something where like a shock factor maybe, or something like really out of the like something really crazy that to basically believe that the story can go forward. What I'm saying is, it would be after 5 issues, it doesn't feel like I gained much of that kind of like, why don't I want to pick up this next issue? I cannot wait. I don't have to. That's the thing. It feels like I don't have to. Wait for your trade, read it up, and you're like, oh fuck, well, that's what happened. But I have 5 first issues, and I think I'm happy with that, what I have now, and I'm kind of have a feel of it. So so that's my 2 cents of one book.
How long is it supposed to go? Do you have any idea?
I
haven't heard anything.
Nothing. Okay, there's no mentioning. It's like as I say, you have other artists, and I was waiting for this artist to the Wes Craig to come in, because I was really looking forward to, because I have that inkling for more Deadly Class to read. And I think Rick Remender got disappointed with Deadly Class TV show and generally being cancelled. And then actually afterwards, they apparently, and on his Twitter, he was selling in Europe. They had the like reruns, like they later got received it, and it was really actually popular. And it's like saying, look at what is going on here? There's an actual popular show. Why the hell? Kind of thing. So maybe that's why he took away the break for the Deadly Class comic book in generally. But his Deadly Class comic book is one of my favorites because of Wes Craig. In generally, I think Wes Craig shines in there rather than him, because of the action scenes he portrays those characters so well and emotions. So, and I watched, honestly, I haven't finished the TV show. I actually like comic book more than the TV show itself, even though he picked a really good cast for the Deadly Class. I think they were picked really well. It kind of really felt comic book characters out, came to fruition. Imagine one happened and they are there. But just, Marcus is Hispanic. And the main actor is not Hispanic at all. So it's like, you get all the right touches, and then suddenly the main character wasn't. You just needed a pretty boy kind of thing to make him ugly, kind of the stuff. So, anyway.
I forgot there was a show of Deadly Class.
That's the thing.
But I wonder if Remender is doing other projects in Hollywood. It seems like his comics come out so infrequently.
Mm-hmm. I think this is the most regular thing he's coming out with at the moment. Yeah. It seems to be he has this idea he wants to put in the comic book, and he's just pushing it out as quick as possible because he has something in his head that he just wanted. And then other things he's been doing is kind of been shoved, which is okay. He's a creative person, so whatever he creates, as long as he gets paid and he does want to do whatever he wants, I'm all for that. But I want him to write superhero comic books because I really enjoy it.
Well, I mean, I think Ryan touched on it in the chat. It really feels like that, like a comic like Low. It's really like a therapy session for him. You do get that sense for sure that he has these books where he's writing it and really working out some demons, which can either hit or miss, right? So
exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Well, how about you, Terrence? What's top of your stack to talk about?
Boy, oh boy, I read quite a bit this week. Let's start with this one actually, because this was something that I pre-ordered at the end of last year. So it's Elric. So Philippe Drouet does one of the stories, and Cawthorn, what's his first name? Jim Cawthorn does another Elric story as well too. So it's from Titan, so it's the same layout as the Drouet books that they've been putting out. This is a lot of fun. I like, because they kind of get into a little more psychedelic kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So Jim Cawthorn apparently was the first artist to depict Elric in an Anglophone magazine, which was Science Fantasy in 1961. And then Philippe Drouet was the first to depict him in a Francophone magazine, which is Moi Aussi in 1966. So they recreate them. And I think these particular stories are from the 70s. So this is Cawthorn's, a reproduction of the art for the front and back cover.
Wow. That looks cool.
And then
I've never heard of Cawthorn before. Have you?
Yeah, no, me neither. It's not a name that I know at all. And then it gets into the story. His story is pretty great. It's about the swords, getting the two swords. And I'm going to completely blank. One is Stormbringer. And I can't remember the other one's name right now. But anyway, there was the issue that I had with this. There was lots of, Elric of Melnibourne went to visit so-and-so of this place, and they went to travel to this place. And there was a lot of just throwing these unusual names and locations out. The art, though, was really, really beautiful. Apparently, Cawthorn was a guy who, if he didn't have a deadline, he would overwork some pages to absolute death from the right up at the beginning. Because Michael Moorcock talks about him in the beginning, and then Drouet also has a bit of an intro too. But super cool. So you go from this dense kind of world where basically Elric is destroyed at the end, Let's just see if I can get there here. Yeah, here we go. So he finally he's gone. The Stormbringer, the fragment of chaos that had been Stormbringer sped from the earth, filling the cosmos with the wild mockery of its laughter. The end. So he gets destroyed to save things, and then in Druyer's, it's kind of the reappearance of Elric coming back to Melniboné, Melniboné rather. Sorry, and Druyer's stuff is of course phenomenal. The scale of things. I mean, there's the people down there, right? And then here's the scale of the actual room they're coming
Holy
in.
cow.
It's just gorgeous stuff, right? Like he's a hell of an artist. And you know, and also seeing it in black and white is just gorgeous. And this one for me really kind of, again, it's one of those that really border on the underground stuff, like when you see pages like this, right? And just all the use of the white especially stands out, especially when you pair it with Cawthorne's really black heavy work. And there's some more there. So, and then in the back, it's got a really good write-up just of the Elric stories in general. Boy, here we go. Elric and the artist. So just kind of going through the history of the Elric character and everybody who's drawn him and all the depictions. So you get a few pages of that here. And again, more recreations of some artwork and stuff. So really, really good book. So, I mean, that's available now from Titan, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Titan.
I'm gonna buy another book.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I would absolutely say go for it. And then nice write-up on the back. But yeah, like I said, this Cawthorne is not a name that I was familiar with either. So a really nice surprise to get.
Seems really good, yeah.
Get something like that, yeah.
I wonder if he's more of an illustrator than a comic book artist normally.
It seemed to be a little bit of both. He did work on some comics, but yeah, I think illustration was his thing too, from just the write-up from Moorcock in the beginning there.
Are they planning to release more? Or this is just to introduce the character?
I think this is just that, because at the end of the other Druyer stuff, they usually have what's coming, and no, there's nothing like that for here. So there's no kind of here's what's coming next. They do give you a look right at the back of these are all the ones that they've released of Druyer's books already. So series there.
And if you look at Titan's. If you look at Titan's back catalog, they're releasing other European versions of Elric. I bought a volume or two. It's kind of mind-boggling how many different comic book versions of Elric there are. I think that I found 5 or 6 different American ones alone, and maybe even more. Often by Roy Thomas. Like he keeps restarting. And I feel like I even had one in practically a fanzine when I was a kid.
Oh wow, really? Yeah.
That I remember being shocked because there was breasts in it or something when I was 11. But yeah, I keep finding different things, different there was like a Michael Moorcock library at one point, series of comics, and just all kinds of different publishers have done Elric.
It was interesting for me too, because I also bought my first, and they're not right at hand for some reason, and I'm not sure where I put them, but I did buy some Conan magazines too for the first time in my life. And this is, Elric was created as kind of like a response to Conan, right? Like
he's kind of the
type of character.
Anti-Conan.
Yeah.
I think overall, I love Conan, but I think maybe I like Elric even more because.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So twisted.
Well, I'm definitely, and it's something we've talked about before. I've never really been a huge fantasy guy, so this kind of stuff never really used to appeal to me. But I think, if you're going to introduce me to a story like this and you're going to throw in Druyer and these kind of crazy out there artists, like that's the way to get to me for sure, right? Because that makes me more interested in the take that they have on it. That makes me a lot more interested in digging a bit deeper.
Yeah, well, Druyer is one of the things you want to get into. And somebody, like, if you want to recommend somebody to go crazy about art, get that artist in your face kind of thing. Like, look.
Yeah, he's incredible, no doubt.
Well, speaking of crazy artists and barbarians, let me make myself go full screen. I read the 4-issue miniseries Star the Slayer, drawn by Richard Corbin and written by a writer I don't really know, Daniel Way. But Daniel Way was definitely, what's the word? He was definitely giving us a Corbin type of story.
Mhm.
It's a total spoof on Conan and other kinds of. I'm trying to find good. There's too many ads. A spoof on Conan and other kinds of barbarian stories,
Mhm.
and it's really creepy. I don't even know how to describe it, but Star was a character made up by Roy Thomas and Barry Smith in just a short, like 5 or 6 page story before they did Conan. And he was a barbarian who came through the mists of time and killed his creator, who was about to kill him off.
Wow.
But in this version, the creator's still alive. And after doing Star the Barbarian, he moved on and tried to do literary novels and failed. And now he's trying to write a sequel to make money. But now there's lots of nudity in here.
Of course, yes.
Now the evil wizard comes through time and grabs the writer and pulls him into the fantasy world and chops off his toes one at a time until he'll rewrite the story so the wizard wins.
Uh-huh.
And I don't really know how to describe this. It's kind of disconcerting because all the characters are unlikable, including the hero, the writer, the evil wizard, the evil kings, the gladiators. So, but I really liked it. I have a feeling of the mainstream work that Corbin did. This one was designed just to be for him. And I'm almost amazed. I know it's Max Comics by Marvel that did kind of the over the top stuff, but I'm still amazed at the stuff they do in here. You know, jokes about, to put it more politely than they do, bung holes and people being forced to wipe someone else. I mean, it just really pushes the edge of things.
Isn't it Daniel Way is the writer of Deadpool?
I think he had a long Deadpool run.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, one of the famous ones, which is kind of like.
I heard a lot of people complain about his Deadpool run. But,
oh, is it? Okay.
But well, you know what? That's mostly Matt. He's my main Deadpool friend who didn't like Daniel Ways. I feel like I heard other people complain about it. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty brutal, especially, you know, when you're picking up what says it's a Marvel comic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
this is a really great. I mean, I don't know how well it's coming off the camera, but it is really peak Richard Corbin art. The colorist, I think his name is Villarrubia. I forget his first name. Jose Villarrubia, and I've seen his stuff on other mainstream comics, but he really gets the Corbin art style too.
Yeah.
So I was pretty enthralled by this. I couldn't, because it was so brutal, I felt like I couldn't read it all at once. I would read a little, then I would put it down. Plus just the Corbin artwork being so intense. So anyway.
So how many issues this run
was? It was just 4 issues.
Oh, okay.
And it's the first of these. You know, I might be wrong, so I'm just guessing that it's the most Corbin-like of these Corbin mainstream books. Hey.
She's going out.
Is she going out or just coming in?
Going out. Yeah, going out. Sorry.
Do you guys still have snow?
A little bit, yeah. It's really melted yesterday and today, though. We've had a really, really warm few days here. It's been kind of gorgeous out.
Nice. Spring. Yes.
Early spring, yeah.
Shannon mentions Rat God. If people haven't read Rat God, that's a really good late Corbin book. I thought it was anyway. Very H.P. Lovecraft-esque.
I think I have a hardback of that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I read it in single issues, but I might like to get a hardback. KSN Comics asked us to start from the beginning.
Hi,
okay, we're beginning again.
Let me talk about sex again. So let me kick on something else to talk about. So I read this, Two Moons by Arcudi. Okay, let's do John Arcudi, Valerio Giangiordano, Dave Stewart on colors, and Michael Heisler and letterer. So Two Moons, curiously, because I wanted to read something Arcudi has written, and especially he's doing it for Image. So Two Moons is the character's name in here. So we have American Indian who is being brought up by American couple. So he doesn't feel like he's an Indian guy. And he's a part of those civil war, I think, in America happened between two parts. Yes, my history is so bad, so I'm so sorry.
Talk about between North and the South.
Yeah. So, overall, I show you the art style, which is, and I show you something. So at the beginning, it starts with the poem, which actually goes really nicely. It's kind of almost lullaby-ish to for me. It was when I was reading. And then he's basically this is our main character, and he's sorry, something came out. Oh, I can't see myself. He's waking up in the sweat because he's starting to dream, and basically he's forgetting who he was, like ancestry in a way, because of the way he's brought up, and he wasn't like. He's just like simple guy doing whatever he's doing, not like he's Indian American and stuff like that. So, but his past is coming in fruition. That's his dead grandfather coming to speak to him, and he's like not realizing that he's dead, but he's surrounded by death because of the war. And this story starts like him going to look for the bandages, and how they basically like fighting each other and like using anything to basically chop people's into nothing. So the art wise it's really good, but the story wise it was very lacking until some of the pages like that came out. So this guy gets shot, and that's what he sees. Our Two Moon character, he sees that creature. So it has that paranormal style to it of this comic book. What it does help this comic book as a first issue is that we have a story written by Cody at the last couple of pages to explain what he's basically gonna, in a way, want to do to the storyline, which is actually really cool. I really enjoyed it. It helped me a lot to see if I want to continue this, because overall from the beginning, 18, 20 pages, 22, I think he's even calculating the pages, 24 pages, it wasn't enough. I wasn't getting into the story as much. It was like you kind of got him. I didn't know his background. I found out his background by actually reading the back pages. So if people skips this, it's actually kind of informational in here. It's actually more interesting, to be honest. It was here than whatever he was writing for us. And it has a couple of intrigues, which I don't want to show you to you guys because it's quite a good surprise. And this is of the artist pages. This one is the best because you have that war really happening in here, and you know, like you have the feel of the era and whatever really happens, what they have to deal with daily kind of things. Overall, as I say, it was enjoyable. The character is intriguing. There's going to be two of them, characters who actually going to be partaking in storyline. There's this female nurse who's Irish, who was brought up into America by, you know, like maybe she's trying to find her, like, you know, like lots of influx of Irish was coming into America in that time as well. So she was there, you know, trying just to help. And you hear about her in here, but apparently Arcudi's plan is to use two of those characters together, kind of thing, to show us the whole story, what he wants to behind. And he said that he's gonna go with history, but he's not promising it to be complete history, like the true facts. He just wants to basically use the history as the scene of the storyline. So, as I say, nothing mind-blowing, to be honest, for the first issue. Nothing to say, oh, go guys, buy issue and read it out. But the back matter, that actually really helped me, and I'm more intrigued with that. Because I do like Arcudi's paranormal writing, because don't forget he was doing BPRD.
Right.
He's well famous for that. So that's what I was curious to see if he's gonna go touch the same things. Does he still have stories? And apparently he had this story for a while, and like all writers do have a lot of stories behind it. Like I want to get information. But artists in here, this Gian Giordano art is really good. The colors, of course, by Stewart really helps because it gets that mood, that scary parts of the elements that really help to bring up in the page. So I not regretting getting it, to be honest. I was, as I say, I was very happy reading the back matter more than the comic book itself.
Yeah.
And because
so
of that,
this is a new book then, like within the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. It came out like I don't even know
2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
So it sounds better. Sounds like a trade weight to me from what you're saying.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm not really sure about how it's going to be next issue. But what we got in here, there's, as I said, I didn't show a couple of tricks what happened to the people when they get shot, what he sees in them. Like it's a kind of new, fresh book. But as overall, I think it would be interesting to see my second issue. I'm definitely going to pick it up next one to see if it's going to be having the same kind of informational pattern. So I definitely maybe going to trade away it after that. But as something new to and fresh to look at, like from, let's say, comic book shelf festival, this is actually, as I say, entertaining. And I like that kind of era because my favorite character, Blueberry, was part of the era, so it's kind of reminiscing that stuff. It's like, oh, where's cowboys? Where are cowboys? I was like, no, I don't think we're gonna have cowboys in here. But you never know. I don't know what's gonna come to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool.
Quite an intense era of American history.
Oh yeah. Exactly. So.
Yeah. Cool.
I don't know how I feel when I read when the back matter makes me understand the comic. That happened once or twice recently too.
It's the thing is, I think it's quite difficult to get a first issue where you go, it's mind-boggling, and how you wanted to do it. It depends what the actual writer wanted to show. Maybe whatever he needs that kind of dramatic entrance kind of thing, like really slow, and then because he did have that it happened in the pages, like, oh, nice, and the kind of information, things happen, action happens. Thinks whatever he sees, and he gets like really scared and petrified because like what he's trying to say is he will get into his heritage kind of thing. The people are coming into him. They can like all seeing eyes and all that, visual stunning things, or maybe he thinks he's dreaming or he's going crazy. And imagine you going a bit mad and you're not sure what's happening to you while you were part of the war. So that kind of would be intriguing to see, but it depends how is he gonna bring that up in the story.
Yeah, cool.
Interesting one. It sounds pretty unique. I mean, other than Blueberry, which is probably quite different. But
no, I just wanted to tell you that this kind of that's how I felt when I was reading it. Yeah, it's nothing, whatever the Blueberry. I'm just saying that Blueberry was part of that era as well. He was part of Civil War as well, so he was entangled in both sides as well. So it's just that because I've been Blueberry up in my head and I compare many things to that, and it's very bad to do so. But it's just me, fangirl, go crazy for Blueberry once again. So
yeah, cool.
Well, sorry, Terrence. No, you go ahead, Terrence.
One of the things that I read that I enjoyed quite a bit. There was a couple of things this week that I didn't really enjoy too much, so I don't necessarily want to focus on those. But I read this Phantom Stranger. So it's a one shot. It's part of this Vertigo Visions that came out. What was that? 93. So right at the beginning of Vertigo. So they had a few one shots, and this was a lot of fun. It again, like when you're right in that world of classic era Vertigo with the art style, which is kind of rough around the edges. And it does this kind of neat transformation when you get into the book. Once you kind of start figuring out the story, basically she's in hell. She's in hell and having to find her way through this house and interacting with an old guy who is the Phantom Stranger, who's been separated. His ghost has been separated from his host body. But part of all of a sudden we get this transition. She goes into the kitchen to eat. The Phantom Stranger has warned her not to eat because at this point she still doesn't believe him, because that's a reveal early on in the book, and then it goes from there even deeper. But he warns her not to eat anything from this house. Don't tie yourself to the house and to hell. So we get this 2 pages where the color starts to shift and their faces start to shift as well, even more. And it was really, really effective reading it, having this kind of unfold, because once you've hit that point, and that's maybe a third of the way through the book, once you hit that point, it just goes further and further from there. I don't want to show you too much from after that, because I do feel it's worth reading and getting the reveal. But it was a lot of fun. It was really, really great. And again, I mean, as I've said many times in our hangouts, like this era of Vertigo, I fall right back into it very, very easily, no matter the character, even though there's parts of Phantom Stranger that I have no idea about. It's pretty simple to kind of just get sucked back into that Vertigo world. So yeah, it was super cool. And there you go. There's him, his host body trying to communicate with the spirit who's not inside the house, but is wandering around outside of the house trying to get back in. Really cool. Very, very cool book. And it's, however many pages, 48, 56, something like that.
So who's the writer and the artist?
Let's go to that page there. So writer is LahRasa Quitney, and illustrator is Guy Davis.
Oh, yeah. Guy Davis. I like him a lot.
So there you go. Hopefully that's focusing. But yeah, there you go. And Guy Davis has popped up for me a couple of times, because in some of the indie books that I picked up lately, I picked up a couple of Guy Davis books as well too. One of them being, was he involved in this one? Let me just double check. I've only read this one issue. Yeah, here we go. So I picked up this one issue of Baker Street, which is also Guy Davis as well. Earlier, Guy Davis from Caliber. This would be 1989 is this one. So he's the creator and illustrator in this one. And this book sort of worked for me, sort of didn't. But, we'll come to that when we get there. But yeah, Phantom Stranger was awesome. And every time I see these Vertigo, and I recommend to everybody at all times, especially like 93 to 96 kind of era, if you can find Vertigo from that time, it's a no-brainer. Just pick it up. Yeah.
I love seeing Vertigo takes on old DC characters, even though I should just want the creator owned. I like seeing that
yeah, totally.
Vertigo twist on the familiar characters.
Yeah.
That's a golden era for Vertigo anyway. No matter whatever, that from the 80s, I think, isn't it? 87, something like that onwards. Like they had like whatever run. I don't know when.
Even though it wasn't called Vertigo yet.
Yeah.
Right. Karen Berger edited comics, which became Vertigo in 92, I think.
93, I believe.
93.
Wow. 93. Yeah.
Well, anyway, so yeah, but the minute you see Karen Berger, it's like always good to try to see just anything. Like in the 50B boxes, I used to be like, oh, Vertigo. That's kind of like, I never did that before, but when I start getting that bug of getting Vertigo into it, I always open the first page to see who's the editor, and it's Karen Berger. Okay, I'm sure they're going to try it out just to have it in my collection. So.
I was shocked to see her as editor on the old Amethyst comics. I didn't know she went back that far. But
yeah, and still around now, right?
Yeah, didn't she do it in IDW? I think she's working for. Oh, she had some.
She's working for Dark Horse now. Karen Berger Presents is a sub-label.
Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there have been good comics coming out of there.
Nice. I like her. I mean, I like whatever she was able to get to do in Vertigo anyway, as a creator. So that's great.
Clark
I
Kent
have
Jeans.
American Freak there, Clark Kent Jeans. I've got that one. I don't think I have the entire miniseries though either. So I don't believe I've read it, or if I have, the story hasn't stuck with me. But yeah, I've got a couple of issues of those for sure.
Yeah, I feel like I picked up one issue. It's somewhere in my boxes, and I meant to look for more.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's part of the reason why I try not to, even though I still sometimes do it. If there's a mini series, I try not to pick it up if I can't get the whole thing, because that just drives me crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's not always avoidable. Sometimes I still do it, but for the most part, I really try to it's got to have them all. Otherwise, I'm not picking. Like one of the things I picked up today was some Cerebus, the Jaka's story. He didn't have all of the issues, but I've never seen so many in one place that I picked up. I think I got 6 issues maybe. So I picked them up anyway, just because I don't often see them. I figured I'd give them a shot. But for the most part, like I just want to get everything, you know, especially on a shorter story or a chunk of a story.
I really like that the beginning story of Jaka, you know, like how Cerebus met her. I think it's hilarious the way what happened to Cerebus and how, you know, the interaction was.
Yeah.
Shannon's mentioning a Vertigo series called Blood and Shadows. I haven't heard of that one, but I guess now I should look. If Shannon likes it, I'll probably like it.
I know the title. I don't think I have them, but yes, I can pick it out in my head. Was that that wasn't a DeMatteis one, was it, Shannon?
Maybe.
Yeah. Vertigo threw a lot of stuff up at the wall, and
They sure did.
A lot of your hauls, Terrence, showed that, where you keep digging up new Vertigos.
Well,
that's excited to find one-shots like that. That seems particularly cool.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, and that's the thing. Like, even after all this time, we've spoken about it before, that even when I go and find stuff, there's still Vertigo from that era that I've never heard of. You know what I mean? Like, so like you said, they really just went all out at that time. They just put everything out that they could get their hands on, which is incredible, especially now.
I have a feeling in the 90s, as the rest of the comic industry was tanking, that Vertigo was maybe doing better than the rest of the DC line.
Well, I think they brought in a lot of readers. I mean, you know, in that actual time, that one of those readers was definitely me. Oh yeah, Joe Lansdale. Yeah, that's right. One of those readers was definitely me. Like when it came to the big 2 or whatever, I was only reading the Vertigo stuff. I wasn't really reading anything else from like Marvel and DC. Those really got me interested, and especially coming up through like Underground Comics and stuff. The Vertigo just completely spoke to me, you know, and then got me into Spectre, got me into Shade the Changing Man, etc. Right, which then led to a path of getting more DC superhero titles and things. So sweet, I'll check it out.
Well, this past Wednesday in the bargain bin, I stumbled across a comic that I didn't know existed.
Nice.
I should make myself large for a minute.
Yeah, that's a good comic book to find.
I mean, I know there was a Planet Comics back in the Golden Age.
Yeah.
Always sounds really cool. And I think there may have only been 3 issues of this. I got issue 1 and 2. Do you have these, Terrence?
I only have one issue, number 1.
One.
I have both, and actually I sent number 1 is one of them that's gone off to be graded because it was fetching a couple of bucks. Yeah,
you're kidding, because I just bought it for $1.50.
Yeah. Keep an eye on it.
I'm tempted to tell my shop owner just to give him some pain, because he's always worried.
Yeah.
But so have either of you read them?
I think I did number 1 issue, to be honest, but I don't recall. It's been a while, so.
So number
I read
1
them, but I've had those for years. Like I would have read them years ago when I found them in like a 50-cent box.
They're written by Bruce Jones, and I think they're copyrighted material by whoever still owned the copyright for Planet Comics. So one is listed as a Hunt Bowman story, and the other is a story of a character called Flamingo. Flamingo's drawn by a familiar artist, Rico Rival. I think he was one of the Filipino artists who were big in the 70s.
Yeah.
And the other artist I was not familiar with, but they're all written by Bruce Jones. And the weird thing is, and they connect up. So at the end of this Bowman story, where he kind of accidentally time travels into the future, he finds this room with some technology in it. And at the end of the Jasmine story, actually, there's 3 stories in here. At the end of the Jasmine story, he is contacting, or not Jasmine, what did I say her name was? Flamingo, who's in 1987, stumbles on this cave with this technology in it, and she's talking to him through the technology. And he knows that in a few months, a nuclear bomb's going to go off, and he wants to stop it. And then there are these advertising men in something else called the Secret Circle, who find special superhero suits and get superpowers from them. And so they all reoccur in issue 2, continuing each of their stories each of which is linked with each other, and it's all to be continued. So I have this feeling that I'm going to be really upset that the story's never finished, if there even is an issue 3. But it's kind of bizarre how they all somehow are linked together, and it feels like, even though it's licensed material, it feels like Bruce Jones is really going kind of wild with his ideas. So like the guy who's in the future, it seems to be this world with some beautiful women riding around on these flying motorcycles, and then brutish men who are trying to enslave them. It's just full of all these unexplained kind of mysterious things going on. I really didn't like the one about the 3 superhero guys, but it's connected to all the other stories. So I don't know what to make of that. Let me go back to normal view. Solid ST4 Ben says, I had some Planet Comic trades that I love. We'll have to get those for sure. I love Jones and Rival. Yeah, this would be right up your alley, Shannon. And one cover is by William Stout, and the other cover is a pretty amazing Dave Stevens cover.
And then that's why it's fetching so much more money because
it's the Dave Stevens covers. Dave Stevens
Absolutely.
hot again.
100%. Yeah.
Oh, you have those hotties riding, so
Yeah.
no wonder. And it's actually quite crazy that yellow cover background, especially, it really works, and it just brings them up kind of more into the like a front panel.
Yeah, it really works for this kind of pulpy, crazy image.
Yeah. It does know how
Derek
to draw
is saying
emails.
one goes for around $30, and over the years, it's one of those that I've really seen fluctuate. Like I've seen graded ones go for a few $100s, but I've also seen them go for pretty cheap. And like I said, when I swear I've still seen them every once in a while in a dollar bin. You know what I mean? Obviously not that often, but it's always one of those games with that kind of stuff.
I think it wasn't even in a bag when I bought it. I was very happy with the condition, but now that you say it might be worth more, I'm looking for flaws.
Yeah.
In a way, it kind of ruins the comics when you find out they're of value.
100%. I absolutely agree. I totally agree with that. It absolutely has that effect on me as well.
I'm torn as to whether to even search through my boxes, whether I have the West Coast Avengers with the Vision on the cover.
Yeah.
I may or may not have it. I don't know. And I never really cared much about it.
Yeah.
I have one copy, but my copy is not comparing. Yours looks pristine comparing to mine, basically. Mine is well read.
There's a few like fingernail marks on the cover, but it is in very good shape.
Yeah, it looks really good. Nice.
Anthony Perdue says that this reminds him of Love and Rockets, and I can see that. It's almost like Frank Frazetta crossed with Jamie Hernandez or something.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a lot of Dave Stevens might be that way. Yes. So Bloody Savages, not even bagged, John.
Yeah.
Because it's just the box that my shop owner throws just stuff he thinks he can't sell into, so he didn't bother bagging it if it wasn't already in a bag.
It's your win then, Damien. You should go look for more stuff like.
But I don't want to sell it, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, you don't have to pay pretty penny then if you want to get in the comic books. That's the thing. That's what we having a problem with. A lot of things like there's a couple of like Dave Stevens like art, like covers, but there is some art inside, and it's crazy. It goes crazy price. I mean, it depends where you actually stumble upon. If you're lucky enough to just find in the box and or whatever you call bins and stuff, then you're lucky. I mean, anytime I seen Dave Stevens on it, anything, I will usually pick it up, but I barely had any of them anyway. So
yeah. Well, I mean, when I was reading that Crossfire series, that one cover that he did that was Marilyn Monroe on it, that was apparently one that I just figured I'd never get my hands on because it seemed to fetch a ton of money. But even those, like, they still pop up, right? Like, which is good, which I'm happy about. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, you're lucky it pops up because for example, I always had trouble finding anything like that in here, whatever I was going to. So anyway, so let's talk about something completely like, for me, it's different now. DC's Superman versus Imperialist Lex.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason
I've read that too.
Yeah, and then the reason I picked it up is because of the creative team, Russell and Pugh. because of I read the Flintstones of this guy, so I was like, okay, I'm kind of curious about Imperius. I mean, Lex in general is a good villain for me for Superman. So I was thinking, okay, I'll just have just try a little bit or get a sense of whatever happens in DC, which I'm completely, to be honest, lost. They have mentioned the whatever happened with that metal part of the storylines. First thing I wanted to mention is that I really like the paper they used in here. He had that texture.
It was nice paper.
Yeah, I like the texture a lot, and it feels like really much like kind of he has the sense of old stuff, kind of in a way. So I honestly, when I started reading the first couple of pages, I wasn't sure what I'm reading. I was like, what is going on here? So I'm really out of loop. I mean, it does tell you, but like where we are. And I was like, sometimes you just sometimes you don't really read it all the way through, kind of Metropolis Earth, not so distant future, blah blah blah, and stuff like that. So
but
there's
all of the future state comics have confused me. Like they never say exactly where they are or if they're on the same Earth or a different Earth. I know there's a multiverse, but anyway.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of like a miss for them to gain some new readership, to be honest, because I was like, I haven't read new DC books for a while, for sure. And of course, I know the characters. It does help me that I know them. So I know Superman, I know Lois Lane, I'm well aware of DC's history, but then, and also, the Green Lantern, I forgot their name. I want to say Guardians.
The Guardians? I think they're called the Guardians.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, so my knowledge is not so bad.
Little
anyway.
blue guys.
Yeah, little blue guys. Yeah, so they're having conversations to basically help each other because they are united. They have this, they are part of this United Planets, almost like EU, Europe kind of thing. Anyway, so you have Superman coming in this conversation because apparently Lex has this new planet. He's invaded by himself, basically, or he's helping them, and may call it a Lexor, and he's having to ask for membership for them to be part of the planets. But apparently, Superman has a lot of things to say about what's happening with Luthor, and it seems to be I don't know. It felt like Superman became kind of like this. Oh, I need to see what he's like. I know that Lex in here in this storyline wasn't a very how to say. It's never been a good guy, but Superman felt like he's really nosy. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go just ditch whatever happens, I'm gonna do the good thing, and then he's while explaining what is evil Lex Luthor doing, basically goes in that planet and basically start ripping things up, and it's like, I'm a good guy, he's the bad guy. It's like, wait, dude, you can't just jump in the planet and say I'm the good guy. I was like, I didn't really feel really kind of a Superman, what Superman is all about, kind of thing. It felt like he's in a way bad guy, not he has spontaneous, he wants to be spontaneously good. That's what it felt like in this comic book for me, the way the creator team is wrote. And another thing, maybe Damon can explain to me, what is Lex wearing? The mask? It's is he wearing a double mask on his face, or is something happened?
I waited the whole comic for an explanation of that, and we never got one. But it's a 3-issue series instead of a 2-issue series like all the others. So
okay.
There might still be an explanation, but yeah, that was really weird. And I think he had fake skin on his hands too, or something. Yeah,
it's he's wearing something's really bad happened to him, and he had to replace some limbs, or maybe. I'm wondering, because he's part of this new planet, maybe he can't actually be there as a human. He has to somehow be, being in existence. I don't know, because they don't really explain about
maybe
this. Maybe
it's something that happened in Dark Knight's Metal or whatever. I just don't know.
Yeah. But and they have this fight because, of course, Superman is he's going there and he peeks his nose into it, and they have this fight, and this Lex Luthor's armor is there, and he's using it, and he's actually doing quite a good job. And it's it felt like the Superman had a bit of scare for a minute because his planet is placed next to the red sun. and Superman is no good for the Red Sun as well. Apparently, he doesn't get powers. He weakens him as well. So overall, as I say, what's confusing? Lois Lane was very bitchy in here, and the way she was speaking at first, and suddenly she changed her mind because Superman changed her mind like in a second. It's like. In that sense, I kind of like feel like she, as always, Lois Lane hasn't been represented nicely, to be honest, in the comic book, anything, whatever comes to Superman. Because Superman comes in there, he gets that superhero pose, and he does whatever he does. And I was like, go Lex Luthor. I kind of was rooting for Lex to do more harm, because the way I felt. And I don't know who is this blue guy hands us. That's a surprise, but this is how it ends at the end. And I'm curious, to be honest. I want to read because I'm rooting for Lex. I want Lex to basically kick ass, to be honest. Even though he's a very bad guy in here. He has created these robots where he comes and destroys the planets and takes away everything, whatever they have of value for him. But the way Superman came in there and done the stuff, I was like, why do you do this? You have to be more reasonable, more like, I don't know, more super kind of thing. It didn't feel super enough for me, but interesting. I just had a sense of DC, whatever they do, and honestly, very kind of there's hints of information there, which I, of course, not getting it because of the previous information on whatever happened in DC Universe prior to that, and I still don't understand what Future State is in general anyway. But I just wanted to see sample. As a creative team, as a writing it's just funny, and it has that hint of hilarious in it for me, which I liked before in the Flintstones. So it's definitely recognizable for the team, and I really enjoyed what I read, kind of thing. I'm not sure if I want to invest it fully, to be honest. I will not pick up any more DC, to be honest. Hopefully I will finish this up, see if my comic book is still gonna have it. He usually does after available issues, but if it doesn't, I will not cry for it. Basically, what I'm trying to say.
Well, I've read issue 1 and 2, and I liked issue 1 better. So.
Oh shit!
And I followed 7 different Future State comics. Each one just 2 issues.
Yeah.
And I still have zero idea what Future State is about or what the point of it is. I think it's pointless, and I think it's nothing. It's like, we're just going to do these stories, and it's Future State, and when the future, what does it, we have one where in the same issue, there was something called Immortal Wonder Woman, which was one of the fatter issues. It had 2 stories. One was about Wonder Woman at the end of time. Wow. And then the other one was about a replacement Wonder Woman in recent times, which would make you think Wonder Woman has died and someone else has taken her place.
Oh, shit.
I mean, it was totally contradictory. So maybe they're supposed to be tales from different universes, but they never explain that, or, let you know if things aren't hooked up with each other or are. And I am not going to get any more DC for a while.
Have you read this Wonder Woman?
Yeah. That had great art.
Looks great.
That one was... So there was Immortal Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman, and another one with Wonder Woman in it. But that one that was just called Wonder Woman, which is about another replacement Wonder Woman who's from Brazil.
Yeah.
It's beautiful art. It's Joelle Jones, and
that's why I was like, I probably would have picked it, but I didn't pick it up because apparently it's because of her art. I guess people are picking up this issue, and it's kind of like my. Oh, okay. And in my comic book question, like I wasn't sure if he has, or even I honestly don't remember if I asked, but I would have picked it up just before her art because I do enjoy Jolene Jones, because she has that knack of the way she does the inking parts, and like the way she uses the ink for her like blood splatters and all that stuff.
She's coming back with a regular series called Wonder Girl.
Oh, okay.
With the same character. So I don't know, is it the same character earlier? But anyway, so you might want to ask your shop for that before it becomes expensive.
Honestly, I want to like more of her Dark Horse work, but she's not there, I guess. Then she's not doing it anymore because her oh my god, I can't believe I'm blanking the name. I can see it in my head, like the character, like
About the
Lady
woman-
Killer. Lady Killer.
Lady Killer, right?
Yeah, if anybody wants to actually have a really good sense of Jones' passion and art, you should get Lady Killer, because that comic book is based in 1950s. She's beautifully drawn, good action, good killing sessions, where the lady just uses knives really well. So yeah, really good. Really one of the best works of hers, to be honest.
I assume Clark Kent Jeans isn't really going back to the name DaCosta DC, but everyone should go and subscribe to him. You can unsubscribe later, I guess, but since he's suggesting unsubscribing.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I bet some old time people
is throwing some shade on some people with no hair, but he stopped himself.
Yeah, the bald guy is always the hero, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey man, Larry David is a hero in my eyes.
Yes.
So yeah.
Let's see. Where were we? Oh, so it must be Terrence's turn, right?
So just to quickly talk about it, I haven't really looked through it yet, but another one of the books that came up in the 50-cent bins today was this, just because we were talking Vertigo. I've never seen this before. So this was, before they started, it was kind of a sampler where they did kind of a page or two. So you get a letter from Karen Berger at the beginning, or Berger at the beginning, talking about the Vertigo line, and then a list of all the titles. And then you get, you just get little samples. So there's a Sebastian O, for example, from Grant Morrison, and Steve Yowill. What else do we get in here? There was one that Shannon was talking about, because he was, you get a little bit of Hellblazer there as well too. I mean, it makes sense that they would have something like this. I've never seen it before. They have a little bit of a Swamp Thing there as well too, with, even flipping through the book, when you come through to the Swamp Thing page, it really just stands out.
Pops out.
And then where was that? It was Sandman Mystery Theater. Shannon had talked about it, saying that he thinks that Guy Davis did Sandman Mystery Theater, and it's true. And they do have a page in here, but now, of course, I can't find it. But yeah, needless to say, here it is. Here we go. So Sandman Mystery Theater with a Guy Davis as well there too. So so that was a cool find. Never knew about that.
One of those, Terrence,
sorry, go ahead, Rasa. Yeah.
one of those issues, there's a first, like they trying to push it as a first appearance of Preacher. The Preacher comic book series, because of TV show came out, somebody's trying to sell it for the bigger bucks because of this, one of those advertising books, saying,
because of this specific book here.
No, I don't know if it's Preacher in this one, but I think they came out to a couple of ones. Like, I'm not sure how many there were coming out, but the one which the Preacher was there introduced, I think they were some people trying to get more money for it, because it's supposedly Preacher's first appearance and stuff like that.
Yeah. So that's cool. I'm looking through that one. And then one that I read this week, I've seen these around in the 50-cent bins, and I've always been curious about it, and it's come up kind of on my radar through different channels, and I'm slowly picking up. My attention is turning to Caliber Comics a little more, because I've read some stuff that's been interesting. It hasn't all been a hit by any stretch. I would say that this Jazz Age Chronicles, for example, like the art was phenomenal, but the story just didn't do it for me by the time I got to the 5th issue. This one was intriguing. I kind of liked it. It seems to be a theme in some videos lately too. This idea of how you're going to portray punks, and that's kind of the idea, the premise behind it here. So it's a lot of punks and these different gangs and all of this kind of thing. And the art is pretty good. You know what I mean? It's a little more. It's that kind of style of indie cartoony that doesn't always work for me, but again, it seems to shift once you get to a certain part.
Whoa.
You get a little change, you know what I mean? So
that's nice.
Yeah, and I mean, the story itself was interesting enough. Once it got into it, you're getting introduced to more of these characters and more of these groups of people. One of the things that didn't work for me, though, is it's set in the UK, and I find it really difficult to get past when they're looking to do somebody with a heavier accent like this person here. I don't know if you're going to be able to read that. I'd posted it up on my Twitter page. When they try to write a heavy accent, it completely brings me to a screeching halt, because then I have to read the word bubble 17 times because I don't know what the fuck they're trying to say. So I don't necessarily like slang and things like that don't really work for me in a comic. And then heavy accents, they just don't work. Like I understand what they're trying to do. I get it, just to give you a little bit more sense of the world. But I kind of wish they would have just written it a little more just normally, so I could actually stay inside the story, because it completely, like I literally had to put it down for a bit and walk away from it. Just because I didn't know if I was going to come back to it. But I did finish it. And I think like I said, I've seen a bunch of these out there. I think there might've been like 9 issues or something like that. So, you know, if I find them for cheap enough, I'll probably give it another shot. Cause like I said, it wasn't horrible, but it didn't blow me away.
Is it any way related to Sherlock Holmes? Didn't he live on Baker Street?
Correct. Yeah. And I think that's sort of the premise that they're getting to. They haven't explicitly said it, but this lady here with the glasses, she's sort of the Sherlock Holmes in the story. And then this is sort of what's going to turn into be her Dr. Watson, potentially. I mean, you know, they haven't said it explicitly though, but that's kind of, it's lying under the surface there a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm always a sucker for Sherlock Holmes references. I don't know why.
The thing is, every single time I see Baker Street is the only thing I can think of. I remember I used to, while I was living in London, I used to pass the Baker Street so often. I actually started like, I can't stand like the tourists, even though I was like part of the flow, London flow, you know, like to tourists everywhere. Baker Street is like, because they have a Madame Tussauds, all those the wax figures museums, and there's so many influx of tourists used to be like, of course, prior to this what's happening now in the world, but so many people that usually clogs up the streets, and the streets are, and it's nothing like, you know, like those the old school shows you used to see, like of the Baker Street and stuff like that. It lost that charm of that kind of thing. They're trying to preserve it. For me, kind of like it needs more that charm, but of course, I mean, when you live in London and you experience that all the time, I think you forget that the charm. Now, if I would go visit again, you know, like I would probably be kind of like touristic feel for me to that. But I lived in London for 8 years, and that was plenty enough for me.
Hello, Paulo.
Yes, hello.
Poor blimey, governor.
Yeah,
How was that? Who says governor these days, huh?
Rasa, we expect more blimey governor from you.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I'm the tourist in this land. My accent is mixture of, some people say, oh, you have German accent mixed with like some of, like, you know, being living in here. Then I pick up a lot of stuff when I actually speak to people. So I can't. I mean, I'm probably for you guys, I don't know how this sounds. I do sound kind of course I have that, you know, like the way I speak and stuff like that. You know, but I when you say hello, governor, I can't stop laughing. So
Blimey.
Blimey. Yeah.
Well, I did an interesting experiment. I read the most recent issue of Heavy Metal.
Oh boy.
And I read Heavy Metal number 3.
Oh, nice.
And
that's a good one.
And
you have some.
It's actually, they're very, very different. Most of Heavy Metal number 3, I mean, it's all still just from France. Most of Heavy Metal number 3 is it's just all about the art, right? There's almost no story. The one with the most story is the Richard Corbin story. The rest of them are kind of like a visual gag almost. Well, actually, I did not read there's something about Van Bodie's lettering that makes me not read it. So that's the one thing I didn't read here. So maybe it had a great story too, but I assume not. But like, there's this one about these this futuristic motorcycle gang who has a concert that brainwashes them by some alien robots brainwash them to turn them into hippies. Stands out
for me from that issue, because that art in that story is incredible. Yeah.
So every artist has their own voice, and so that's, I think, what made Heavy Metal so incredible. and I think it was art first for the most part. Let's see. I mean, there's this incredible Mobius thing here, but it's wordless, and you're not quite sure what happened. I think that Major Gruber somehow brings what's his name, Azark. I always forget. Azark's flying Arzak's flying dinosaur back to life. I think that's what happens here, but with some kind of computer. It doesn't really make any sense, but it's incredible to look at. And then you have the most recent heavy metal, which is number 304. And you have some pretty good art, but it's a little less, it just doesn't punch out of the page the way the old art does. And it's still a mix. There's a smaller amount of European and a greater amount of American artists, but most of them are trying to tell a story, and it's done by teams, right? Writers and artists and letterers and colorists and everything. But some of this was better than I thought it was going to be, I have to say. And it's so long. It's like 140 pages, no, 120 pages versus I think about 90 pages of the original heavy metal, that it's kind of daunting. And usually I don't end up reading the whole thing, but I forced myself to read the whole thing. And I even went back to previous issues I had to read the stories that were continued. So overall, I'm realizing heavy metal is better than I thought it was. The new heavy metal.
Nice.
But it's definitely not the same. And it would be nice to have a gorgeous full color book that is artist first, artist centric. Maybe no one wants to invest in that right now. And maybe even European comics aren't done that way anymore. Because this one we're looking at right here is either European or possibly South American, I'm not sure. And it had quite a good film noir, science fiction film noir type of plot. But anyway, so yeah, I'm kind of torn. I want this art, but I do think story does have a place. Great Man says he's lost the stream.
Oh, says back again now. Oh, Rasa's gone. We've lost Rasa.
We've lost Rasa. Oh boy. Hopefully she can get back. Or maybe she just fell asleep on top of her computer.
Yeah. That's cool. So what stories would you say stuck out for you with the new heavy metal? Because I have a few of the newer issues, and honestly, I think I've read one of them.
Okay, so there's this one called The Last Detective. So the titles don't stand out to me. So it was the one I was talking about that was kind of a science fiction film noir one. The Last Detective Redemption. So it's done in two parts. So it must have started in 303 and it concludes in 304. And it was one where the art was kind of okay, but didn't jump out at me. But once I got into reading the story, it was very good and a lot of fun to read. And it's about this, cop who had to go into hiding after his last big case went all wrong, and 20 years later they find him and bring him back up to solve some new mystery that ties into the old mystery. Okay, yeah. And there's robots involved and things like that.
Of course, has to be.
So it was fun. It was fun.
Cool.
And let's see. Part of the problem is there's just too much in here, which makes the stories not stand out. There was kind of a fun one from this guy, the artist who did Kill Lock. I think, is that what it's called? There was a recent comic book from IDW called Kill Lock about robots. Okay. And this one is, the artist's name was, they don't list the artist here, Livio Remondelli. Oh, there's Rasa. We thought you'd fallen asleep.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I am in UK. I lost power for like 5 seconds. Everything just went blink, and everything switched off. I was like, what? Did I press something? I didn't think I pressed anything. But it was really weird. It's just like one blink, my computer just switched off everything, and it's like, whoosh.
Yeah.
So I was like thinking, what's happening?
Yeah.
That was funny. Yeah. What are you guys
So-
talking about?
This other story in heavy metal I liked was about a guy getting his memories changed because it was too painful.
Mhm.
And then it had a nice twist at the end.
Mhm.
And there were some in here that were quite bad. There was a very touching one about a woman and a robot, which unfortunately looks too much like a familiar kind of robot from like what was it, Herbie the robot in the Fantastic Four and that kind of thing.
Like a million movies, yeah.
Yeah. But she made this robot to keep her company, and then it appears to have a tragic ending, and then it has a happy ending. But again, the art just is not as individualistic as the old art.
Yeah.
But that was quite good. They don't even put the titles always. Let's see. Oh, this one does have the title. No. Yeah, it's like they don't. Oh, it's just called Backup, so it's not a very memorable title. But so those were some of the standouts, and there were some others. And then there were some, this one must be European. It had pretty beautiful art.
Yeah, looks good, yeah.
That looks like old time European kind of.
Mhm.
And this one was about a soldier, like a soldier sniper type trying to shoot people, and these people he's trying to shoot must have been ghosts or something, and that was about the whole story.
Oh, neat.
Um,
And that's just a one-off, did you say? Sorry?
Yeah, that was just a one-off. Azra Al-Raf. So yeah, that was really cool. So this is kind of in the old style of heavy metal. There's maybe two things in here that were more just like a short piece where the artist got to show off his stuff. So many in here, I can't find another one I want to show. Oh, this one was kind of clever. A guy is looking through a microscope, and the matter, whatever it is, jumps off of his slide and gets on him. Damn. And then this was just 2 pages. Then we see it spreading around Earth. And then we see Earth is under the microscope. Whoops, I got my fingers on the wrong.
No, that
Earth is under the microscope for an alien watching it.
Nice, that's cool.
Yeah.
So they need more of that and less of the continuing long stories. Yeah. But also, I suspect, because I feel like I read somewhere that heavy metal was bought up by some movie producer type people, and I think they want to create IP out of it.
Oh,
so maybe the short, just artistic riffs on things that aren't really a story aren't going to go very far in Hollywood. Yeah. And I think that, there's all these, it's full of ads for individual issue things that they're doing.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the copyrights, and even though there's just ads for them, they have copyright notices that heavy metal owns them. So I think that those individual issues are all IP, part of the IP farm. And they are sort of thinking of the main magazine as a way to promote their IP. So they have a mix of stuff that maybe is aimed at Hollywood, and then just good old fashioned heavy metal stuff to, in their hopes, keep an interest in the magazine. Like this Dark Wing here, that's another one that's probably IP. So the only ads in here are ads for other heavy metal comics.
There you go. Paulo's putting some information. I knew you'd be on this there, Paulo. That's awesome. About that.
So that one, Azrath, that I liked, was originally published in 1988 by Darko Perovic, a Serbian who works mostly for Italian publishers. So yeah, that was one of the best, artistically, one of the very best pieces in the whole thing.
Cool.
Very cool.
So anyway, I think it's just a big commitment. I think they would be smarter to do like a 75-page magazine and charge less, because it's $14.
Whoa.
And it's a lot to read. It takes a long time to read it.
It sure is. And I don't know what it's like at your shop, Damien, but the one where I have my pull list, they don't get that many issues of it in, and they have back issue after, like the last kind of 6 issues, they're still sitting on the shelf. No one's
buying it. Yeah.
Nobody's buying it at that one shop anyway.
Yeah. And I think it's because you flip through it and none of the art pops out at you, so you decide, I won't get it.
Mhm.
Or you buy an issue and it's hard to get started reading it.
Yeah, totally.
What got me back into it was Richard Corbin, and then he passed away, and there's no more Richard Corbin in Heavy Metal.
Mhm.
Shit.
But I decided to try and stick with it.
Mm.
Heavy Metal has, Paulo asked if it's quarterly. I think it went to quarterly a while ago and then bi-monthly, and now it's gone monthly. So I think
Whoosh.
someone has invested a lot of money in it, and they hired Grant Morrison, and now they've hired Tim Seeley to be the editor.
Oh, yes.
And they have like 3 editorials every issue. This one's the Tim Seeley one.
Yeah, we see.
And the editorials sound very corporate. Like we've got a theme that we're going to write about. So this month's theme was that Heavy Metal isn't really a comic book, which really pissed me off. And then last month's theme was, about science fiction, and each of the editorial guys wrote about their thoughts on science fiction.
Mhm.
I wish they had artist bios at the back or something, because it is interesting to know who's from Serbia, who's from where, and what work they've done elsewhere. Would be really interesting.
But it's harkening back to that old style. They don't give a shit about the artists. It's like you're saying, it's
That's
IP. We're going to market test it. That's what we're doing here.
The old Heavy Metal didn't tell you anything about the artists too, and in fact,
true enough.
The contents page would just give their it's not going to focus. Just give their last names, and often not even the full title was printed there.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to bring you guys back in the picture. A fun thing is the letters in issue 3 are letters about the first issue. And one guy wrote, "Dear Heavy Metal people, I liked your first issue all right, but it was, well, a bit European for my taste. I mean, it was too European, that's all. It not only looked French, it read French. What's wrong with American writers and artists? Why French? Especially Den. What's wrong with Den is what's wrong with the whole issue. Much too European. But I liked it considering."
Hilarious, because he would have been the only American in there, yeah?
Right. The letter
That's
might
hilarious.
have just been a joke letter.
Yeah.
Another one says, "Loved your April issue. It was a real trip, particularly Den and Space Punks and the greatest Van Bodie and Sunspot. Whatever happened to Bodie? Van Bodie is dead. The Cheech Wizard man was contemplating his navel one afternoon while hanging from the ceiling. The rope slipped and Vaughn left us. Seriously, that's actually how it happened, Eds. I guess he did die by some sexual audio asphyxiation, or did he kill himself?
Okay,
I'm not
really,
sure.
hey? Yeah, I had no idea.
Well, good way to go, no?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, Sean, you should be working for Heavy Metal.
Yeah. That's crazy. It's a lot of it's $14, like you say, for monthly. I mean, that's already 100 pages. It's a lot of investment. People don't have that much attention. I think that's really a miss gonna be for those whoever bought them. In like, if you're trying to, especially if you're going the same method as it was previously done, without information, people are more curious these days. And I'm like, I know everybody call it Google. Okay, we got World Wide Web to look at stuff and to understand who it is. But still, as a content, it's actually, especially in such a giant magazine, it's great to have information, because you know what? If I wanted to go through and then get interested in the story, I might just pick it up because I'm actually interested in it. But now you just completely go flipping through and take my time. What? Nobody's let you flip through books anymore or magazines anymore. You have to commit to that $14, and then you get disappointed once. I don't think you're gonna go back second time, to be honest. That would be me. I'm just describing what would happen to me. Well,
I mean,
John, Clark Kent Jeans makes a good point that a lot of magazines go for around $14 now. A lot of magazines are very expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think in the comic book store, this would do better if it was half the size and maybe $9. Something like that.
And wouldn't be posted as often, to be honest. I think it's just crazy.
Monthly
anyway, I'm not picking this up anymore. I wanted to somehow in the back of my head, I feel like I want to like this comic book. I don't know why. I guess I like the art. I like the premise, I presume. And in here we have more of great scenes, to be honest. Like especially, I really enjoyed this scene. And there you go, this guy.
Oh yeah, nice.
That's a guy in the French,
Right.
who is being, like, it's like kind of creepy vibe, but that's what she's supposed to have. So it seems to be since that girl's disappearance, the band or the friends, three of the friends, one of them gone into array, like disarray, to be honest, because he started to like. I'll show you what he's doing these days. He's smoking bongs and he's all beat up because he was initiated into a group, or like like a punk. Punks in here in this comic book are really bad guys.
Right. The punks in there don't really like music at all.
Yeah, that's what the guy says in here. It's like, I didn't get into punk just because. I just got it because they kind of like shouting, screaming, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay.
They're literal nihilists, I guess.
Yeah. So I actually enjoyed the story because what happens in the house once again, and this time with one of the friends, it got me intrigued, but it's just... honestly, now talking about it, I'm kind of thinking, should I pick up another one? Just because, as I say, I have some weird feeling. Though many comic books doesn't do this to me, but this comic book somehow has me like, oh, maybe you should just have another one, just to try another one, and like that kind of sense of the storyline, because it had moments like these pages, which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
And it just drew me more into that bizarreness part, like this guy, the soldier guy who's choking gears, like his head split in twos. And
Is
then
that issue 3?
Yeah, and what you see, this guy basically being stabbed in, and then he gets tangled, and that part of paranormal part really entertaining. And she's like kind of like, she's not sure if she's gonna be back to normality. But as I say, Damon, do you read this issue? Yes.
Yeah, and I haven't had it on my pull list, but I've been picking it up off the rack, and I'm not sure whether I'll pick up issue 4 or not. Like, for some reason, I just didn't care as much as I thought I would.
The last page, I definitely don't want to put it in here because it's kind of a big spoiler. But I don't know. Did you like the last page of this one?
It's been long ago now that I can't remember what was on the last page.
I'm not.
Go ahead and spoil it. If you want to wait for Homesick Pilot, turn off the video for a minute.
Yeah. So this is what 1, 2, 3. That's what happens to him.
Right, and I didn't understand that. I don't think
he turns into that.
Yeah, but I mean, what is that? Because he picked up the horseshoe.
Yes, exactly. And I don't know what's the meaning of it, but this is what happens to him, and it's so she's becoming part of.
Seemed a little dumb.
For me, it felt like a little bit more intriguing.
A little bit what?
Intriguing because of that whatever. Yeah, okay. Because he picks something up and then things happen. It's like you're not always seeing some Kaiju Max type of like paranormal kind of character in that sense. But as I say, it's nothing groundbreaking. It's just that story is something in there. I wanted to like it, basically what I'm trying to say, and it's not doing it for me. And somehow I feel like should I pick another one? Should I pick another one? It's probably going to be this way. So I don't know. I think it depends how I feel on that day when I tell to my comic book guy, do I want this or not? Or I'm going to completely forget, because I tend to remember if I want to or not. So it depends but as I say, this is one of the comic books where why I'm not liking this? I was I don't understand why in my head I do that. But this comic in particular gave me a brain fart kind of thing in the story. Ooh, this is good. Oh, no, this is horrible. Why are they talking this way? Oh, no, but this is interesting. It's crazy for me.
I think it's an out of focus comic. Like the writer hasn't fully decided what to do with it. Mm-hmm. And that writer, Dan Waters, has done some really good stuff, but I think he's hit or miss for me.
Yeah.
Some people love everything he does, but
yeah, and also the part where this kind of creature came out, that all that like the visuals with that the tape person who came up because he's haunted is beautiful, and that could be really tied in so nicely the comic book. But then he puts that punk stuff, which doesn't. I mean, I know they're in the band, but okay, we know that you can forget about it. You don't have to keep on mentioning, but they keep on mentioning it, that they're part of the band and blah blah blah. It's like, I don't know. As I say, maybe you're right about him not knowing what he wants to do with the storyline. It could be really good story, and especially the art seems to be, and the coloring is really well done and well thought of, like the way it looks. But so I don't. But talking as I talk more, it's like I'm doubting myself what I'm going to do. It's like next time we'll talk about what is this? Why am I having this shit in my hands? Or something like that. So.
Well, you don't have the advantage of waiting till you go to the shop and then decide
to
look it up.
No, that's the thing.
Harder.
I have to tell my guy like the week before it comes out to actually want it, if I want it or not. So if one day in my head's like, oh, should I? And then I'm just gonna ask for it. It's like, and then I receive it. It's like, I shouldn't have had it. Why? I could have just picked up something else. Yeah. So.
Clark Kent Jean says issue 2 of Serial is already delayed.
Yeah, I was supposed to receive this bunch and I didn't, but apparently my comic book site said that something happened with shipment as well. So, because he has it, apparently you can get it in his website, because he always have his own website and he sells the comic books there. But I guess because it's distributed by Diamond having.
Diamond's had a lot of problems.
Yeah, everybody's talking about Diamonds and their shipping issues. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and on top of that, the whole U.S. postal system has slowed down.
Okay. Yeah, I presume. Well, you having extreme weather to deal with, as well as
there's that, but extreme. I think there was a purposeful slowdown. From the person who was appointed by Trump, and I think he's still in charge of it, and he's still slowing things down.
Shit. Interesting.
So, for instance, he doesn't allow them to do any overtime, which you have to do in the postal system when you have your crunch times. I think there's other things he's done to slow things down. The thing I don't know why Biden hasn't got rid of him yet, but I assume
and I mean, without saying who this individual is, but we all know someone in our community who works for the post office, and for that individual is working overtime, all the time, right?
But he's on salary because he's management, so they probably are making him make up for not being able to ask other people to do overtime. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
The thing is, when I like on Twitter, you see odd fellow thoughts, they'll keep on telling me my comic books went to Alaska and stuff, and he was like, "Why the fuck do your comic books go to Alaska first?"
Go to Alaska,
they get around the world before they come to this place. That's hilarious.
I mean, for me,
it happens to him every time. It feels like, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's like I always complain. It's like so stupid. But I feel like I'm sometimes in my head I complain about postal service, but I never have to wait that long. I mean, I've never seen going somewhere like, Scotland and back to me. Is like I would go furious. I would go be like the old lady calling post office. Where's my package? Why didn't you give me my package back? Something like that. But yeah.
I have read a bunch of it, not all of it. They're comics stripped, but I have read a bunch of the Mark Waid Daredevil, and I loved it as well too when it was coming out.
Yeah,
I just haven't finished it all yet.
Yeah, I think we were in that time. All of us were hyping it up at that much.
Yeah, it was kind of one of the best Marvel comics of its day
because of the artists as well.
You're right, Chris Samnee. Yeah,
helped.
And it had other good artists before Chris Samnee.
Yes,
blanking on the names.
Cool.
Yeah. And I haven't read the most recent Daredevils, which everyone loves, but it's back to the dark, unhappy Daredevil, and I'm procrastinating on it.
I could tell you, I read the first volume and I enjoyed it. Second volume, I actually didn't finish it. I don't think I will, because the art flipped, and the dark story and the artist on the first issue felt really good for me because of the story, how it flew and how it went with the whatever they wanted to do, and then. It's just too much change. It's just too much of a kick. You can't go from south to north. It's like in one kind of volume, and it's just too jarring for me. And that's why I'm thinking that's what it seems to be that's the problem for me in general. With Scumbag, I completely lose the touch of the character because I have to basically refamiliarize myself with him in a way because I just like to. I mean, even though he looks the same, and I don't want it to be like different artists is not bad, but I like continuity in artists and writer the same comic book doing it. So, and Marvel doing it quite often really does jar me from the storyline.
I'm with comics stripped on the Zdarsky. Like I read the 2 volumes. I didn't like it. I traded them away. I don't even have them anymore. Yeah, I've gotten rid of them. Just double check it to make sure that I'm telling the truth. But yeah, I traded them away. And there was some real, I had some real issues with the portrayal of like these superheroes. And they were talking about like how, you know, as a superhero, you're going to do violence and every once in a while someone might actually die and how that's passable. And especially when I was reading that, we were still kind of heavy into the, you know, the fuck the police mode with everything that's going on with that. It just left such a sour taste in my mouth that I'm sure that he had some big plan and everything. I'm sure that he did. And I don't doubt it one second, but those books just really sat really not well with me where I couldn't read it. It's like, this is just absolute horse shit. And, you know, especially being a mainstream book and it almost seemed to be apologizing to some degree that, hey, listen, man, it's a hard job. Don't sweat it. Get the fuck out of here. I don't want to read that. You know what I mean? So they're gone. I'm not going to go back to it.
So do you still think I mean, you used to be a big Daredevil collector, Terrence. I still
love the Daredevil books still a lot. It was just that particular storyline in there just really sat wrong with me. It just, the way that they were presenting it. I just really didn't like it. And I mean, even though I'm, you know, there's, you know, all these religious tones in it and stuff. That's never really bothered me. I find that interesting because I mean, the thing that I like about that character and that's always resonated with me is he consistently just gets beaten down and he consistently kind of comes back and pushes himself. Like I love that kind of thing. I think that's what really speaks to me. This character pushing past his insecurities or his abilities or whatever the hell it is. I find that enjoyable. That's the escapist part for me. You know, that's the superhero part to me, like showing a better path to some degree and just giving it a try, even if you're failing or whatever, right?
This Chip Zdarsky's Kingpin, I enjoyed the way he was portrayed in the comic book. I mean, because he was a mayor, he's in charge, and he has that look of like the artist, as I say, the first artist on the first volume. I really do enjoy the way it was portrayed, and then they went second volume. It switched off that ability of that aggressiveness of him just being presently there with the stature of the physical body of his. That's what really it speaks volumes when you talk about Kingpin. And then if you don't feel that, it just loses that sense of the same thing what you have read just previous volume, and that's why I just completely switched off for me. And Daredevil is, like you saying, you have said about that. I like the way he was always fighting. It's like, you know, no matter how many punches I take, sometimes I felt like he's sometimes too much of a sponge and not of much of like a kick, but I understand how he had to be brought up and all that stuff, like history behind that. So, and it's lots of more to read about in previous writers, which is really good stuff to read as well.
Cool. Just while if Paulo Costa is still here, one of the things that I picked up yesterday in the trading that we did, I don't know anything about it, and I'm just curious if Paulo knows. This is Once Upon a Time in the Future by Pahek, and it's from a company called Platinum, which I guess is a SAF and Malibu graphics. So SAF for SAF, I've heard of them, and I have some stuff that they've released kind of, you know, amongst the kind of Cinebook and NBM and Comcat and that kind of world. SAF was another one, and then of course Malibu Comics, but I've never seen anything from this imprint at all. And, you know, it was just one of those no-brainers. As soon as I flipped through it, it had that, you know, very Euro style that I thought was fantastic.
Do you think it's a reprint translation?
Yeah, it is. So it's originally, so this one is 1991. It actually doesn't say another year to it. So I wonder if, so there's his first name.
I can't.
And then it just says 1991 in there. I don't know if that's going to focus, but so I'm assuming it says 1991 strip art features, and I don't know when this particular edition came out because there's not a year for this one here. But just reading the first couple of pages, like look at the colors and stuff. You know, it's everything that I love about these comics, right? It's humans and robots living together, and humans keeping the robots down so they can't get. They want to stomp them down when they're trying to gain these kind of humanity, these human traits, characteristics, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So there's punishment for robots who want to portray some more human characteristics. And that's as far as I got. I literally just read the first couple of pages. The spelling is Zeljko, and then the last name is Pahek there, Paulo. So I don't know if that was a name that meant anything to you, but that was intriguing. And the one that
I would be shocked if that wasn't European. I mean, it just doesn't look like a American comic from 1991.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the one that I read this week, which the covers, you know, again, in my searching for these 80s and 90s indies. So this is from Eternity Comics, and it's a take on Frankenstein. And I really enjoyed this first issue quite a bit. One of the things, again, like it seems like snow is coming up a lot in my comics recently. And this one, the way he portrayed this kind of tundra, it almost felt like some sort of nuclear fallout kind of landscape. It was just really, really nice, like with these tracks leading into a big crevice there. Really, really good, actually. Pretty impressive. And, you know, not the cleanest art, but it still gives you a really nice impression, especially as you get further in. But I mean, the hands up here and stuff, I love that kind of thing. There was a couple of pages that really stood out when he was doing experiments, like the art here, for example. I thought was really great, really great.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it's one of the things that comes up with these indies and stuff that I'm really enjoying. You're just getting, even if the entire book isn't consistent, there's been some really nice surprises with some of these artists that they just kind of hit it out of they knock it out of the park every once in a while, and they're a lot of fun to kind of see. And you know, 99% of them are black and white as well, which is also a nice thing for me. I feel like there was one other page in here that really stood out, but maybe I've hit them all. That last panel was really nice too, actually, pretty good. Even though it's kind of messy, it took me a little bit to realize that it's Frankenstein kind of grabbing our doctor as we're looking from behind, and he's kind of falling backwards, it looks like. It took a little bit to decipher what was going on there, but it's cool. I have 3 issues. I don't know if that's the whole series or if it was a 4. I think it was only a 3, but I think I have them all. I've just only read this first one so far, but really enjoyable.
Cool. Another thing I've never ever seen.
Yeah.
That's what
it's fun
Terrence
digging
does.
through those bins, man. I love that stuff. Like the other guys, when I'm around, they're always kind of teasing me as I'm down on my hands and knees looking through the boxes that they have under the tables and stuff. What are you hoping to find in there? I'm like, anything. I don't know. That's the fun of it, right? Like, I don't know what I'm going to find in here.
The adventure.
Maybe something amazing, maybe 99% shit. Who knows? Oh, hey, Herman's assistant. That's amazing. He appears credited as colorist on Jeremiah and Boyd. Oh, okay. I'll pull out my Jeremiah books then, because that's interesting. Thank you, Paulo.
That's the guy on the Once Upon a Time in the Future that Paulo's talking about.
Joko.
Yeah.
Huh. I love that title, Once Upon a Time in the Future. I just think that's fun.
Yeah. And
it was
like I said, it's just stuff like this that pops up because the Red River Bookshop in town, the first Saturday of every month, he opens up the upstairs. The rest of the time it's not, because he just doesn't have the staff to keep both levels open. So only the first Saturday he'll have somebody working. His son works upstairs there just on that one day. He'll stay up there the whole day. But the stuff that he has there is incredible because it's, you know, part of it is because I haven't seen it a million times, but it does feel like some of that stock up there rotates quite a bit. Even looking through the back issue bins, because he's got a ton of them up there. There was some really great stuff. I didn't have a ton of time to sit yesterday, though. Was there with the whole family, so I just kind of grabbed what I could and got the hell out of there.
Mhm.
But when we all come and visit you, we have to make sure it's on that Saturday.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. Because that's one of the spots to hit for sure. His prices are kind of hit and miss sometimes, but the amount of stuff he has, like I found another Rima book up there, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I found a Rima
Yeah.
book today too, actually, Damien,
Oh,
from
nice,
the
nice.
cheap bins, issue
Yeah,
5, I think. So
Uh-huh.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
think that's
because-
the first one I read. Yeah.
Mhm.
But 1 through 4, I think, are the sweet
The
spot
best.
that you can find those.
Yeah, yeah.
definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just need number 2, and then I'll have those first 5 there.
Okay.
I see.
Well, there was a request about Berserker, or however you're supposed to pronounce that.
Mhm.
I don't have a lot to say about it. It's totally overhyped.
Yeah,
It's
seems to be.
completely a derivative story.
I want to
know.
pick it up. I'm waiting for my next month now. So
It could be Bloodshot or Deathlock or The Eternal Warrior, plus a million stories you've seen in movies and stuff.
Mhm.
Can you make yourself
But-
big again there, Damien? So we can
Oh,
see
sure.
it?
The art's very nice.
if you can, try not to spoil it for me
Okay.
somehow, because I'm gonna pick it up. I'm gonna receive it this
Okay.
month, at the end of this month, if you can.
Well,
Or maybe
there's only one thing to spoil in it, except I guess I could not tell you the different ways he kills people.
Is that what it happens?
He kills a lot of people, and then on the last couple pages, there's a little extra explanation of how long he's been alive for, and that's it.
I want to get it now. Whoosh.
I love Ron Garney as an artist, but it's, you know, I was reading something about, or I was hearing someone on some podcast talking about, you know, things that happen between the panels. And in a way, there's almost no between the panels here, because it just shows you blow by blow everything that happens in a long extended fight. And then a little bit of what happens after the fight, where he talks to his therapist, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's basically a Punisher, yes?
Well, more extreme than Punisher, but, you know, one of those characters who's kind of unkillable and is being controlled by the government kind of character.
Okay.
But then there's what they probably think of as a little twist, but I've seen this twist before too, but I won't mention it since you haven't read it yet. But I think it's definitely not a comic to feel FOMO about, because you're not missing anything special.
I think I'm gonna call my comic back tomorrow. So just forget about that comic book. I don't want it because I bet he's gonna sell it. You know what I mean? I don't think he's gonna have a problem not to sell it.
Right.
I don't want to be like a person like that, but it's actually, I'm kind of glad when I see those comic books being shown to me sometimes. Of course, I don't want to spoilers, but then I can have a really good sense when people start talking about the comic book. It's like, oh, do I? Or I just get the comic book and just start selling on eBay for like a ridiculous price and get my money.
I do actually know the colorist of the comic, and he told me issue 2 does have a lot more, very little fighting and a lot more other stuff going on.
Oh, I see.
So it might develop. You know, it is co-written with Matt Kint, but from the evidence of this issue, it doesn't seem like there's anything special.
Yeah.
A lot of people have loved it, I think, for the extreme ultraviolence and craziness. And Grayman was saying, is there dialogue? And so in this 2-page spread, there's a little caption box there, and there's a little caption box there. And the caption boxes are you're overhearing him having a conversation at some other time than when the action's taking place.
It's funny because I've always have been a big fan of Keanu Reeves. No matter, I grew up with his stuff, like whatever he came out with, and I'm being like really a fangirl from his movies. But there was this movie recently, I don't know if you guys see it, with him. It's called Siberia, and by chance my mom watched as well. It's available on Netflix. I don't know if it's available no matter which part of the world you are, but anyway. And then I was speaking to my mom, and my mom is as well as a fan of Keanu Reeves in general, of the movies and stuff. We had a conversation, and she absolutely disliked it. It's like, what the hell is doing in that movie? And the premise was really shallow, to be honest. A guy who is dealing with diamonds, going into deal with Russians, of course, because Russians are all about diamonds and they have all the money in there. He goes into St. Petersburg, gets in trouble because of one of his supposed workmates who has the diamonds disappears and leaves him alone. And basically everything happens and rattles about that one thing, and he dies at the end. That's a spoiler alert. And my mom's like, no, this movie was horrible. Just talking about the Keanu Reeves stuff. It's kind of weird because when you see the movie, you see, like this famous movie. Oh my God, I forgot the name. The last movie, the famous movie with the dog. What's the movie? You guys remember that movie? The name?
What is John Wick? I haven't seen.
Yes,
that,
yeah, John Wick. So he looks. Then the movie starts. He looks like John Wick completely, and you're like, "What the heck?" Because they don't tell you the title for about 2 to 3 minutes, and I was confused because, like, surely it's not John Wick because he looks exactly the same, has the same haircut, he dressed up even the same. It's like, what the hell? And it's like, right at the end of the couple of shots, they say Siberia, and you're like, oh, okay, then Siberia, but it's like John Wick. Part of it, kind of.
Want to know a little? Here's a little nugget of Siberia. Part of that movie was filmed here in Winnipeg, filmed in Manitoba. Yeah. So there was I had to double check online just to make sure because sometimes the names blur together. But part of it was filmed here, and then also in. It also says in St. Petersburg as well too. So
but not one you worked on.
I was working in the office already, but
you already
I went
in the office.
To the set a couple of times just to, because I just do set visits as part of my job. So, so I did visit the set and I did see him from a distance, kind of thing. And apparently, everybody said that he was incredible to work with. Like, apparently, he's one of the nicest individuals to work with. Period. And he has that reputation no matter where he goes. He's an incredibly, very, very nice man, which is great.
That's cool.
So,
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's not like the worst comic in the world or anything. It's just very familiar and it's extremely focused on violence. And a lot of people like, sort of how far can you go and what kind of crazy thing you can come up with.
Yeah.
And there is, like people in the comments are talking about movies and comics and how that doesn't always mix so well. I'd say on the plus side, this may be bringing some people into the comic shop that haven't gone in a long time, because they.
But I wonder what it's doing to the comic shops. One of the things that I had heard out there on one video, somebody
the
had
one
said
in the 1,000 thing.
Yeah, the one in the 1,000 thing. Yeah, so I mean, I wonder what it's doing to the shops, who are buying this book, and again, the classic going to be saddled with multiple copies of this book that they can't get rid of because. The people are just not going to come back for anything else. They just want that one, you know what I mean? And then that's going to be their experience with comics,
Yeah, that could be.
I've read somewhere that it's saying that if they're going to do the movie, he's going to definitely be the main actor. It's like,
well, he's drawn as the main actor. It looks like.
I mean, I know, but what I'm trying to say is just like they're trying to push that comic book to the point of like people get their excitement as far as possible. Like, oh, maybe if there's a movie coming out, so he's gonna be there. So it's like kind of reassuring. Go pick it up. Go invest in this comic book as much as you can. Because you never know, like this speculation part of
Comic Strip says, wasn't Berserker the best seller of this week? Yes, it was the best seller this year also.
Wow. Yeah.
I suppose some other comic will be bigger, but it seems unlikely. So it looks to be the biggest comic of the year. They printed over 600,000 copies.
What?
Crazy.
Well... Yeah, interesting.
They were too poor for the vowels. Yes,
they beat the shit out of all the vowels.
Yeah, they shoot it out. Anyway,
that's right.
But before we have to go, I just also want to mention I read the next issue of Radioactive Man, and
we're not going in, Damien. Yes. We're not going anywhere. I have a lot to talk about.
Okay. I thought you were going to fall asleep. We've been going 2 hours. But anyway, I just wanted to quickly, I wasn't really going to talk about Berserker, but I did want to talk about Radioactive Man. This one is where he makes fun, or they make fun of the early 70s relevant comics, where instead of my sidekick's a drug addict, it's my sidekick's a dirty hippie.
Yeah.
And he teams up with someone named Bleeding Heart, which is obviously kind of a play on what's his name? Green Arrow. Green Arrow was the liberal in the old comics. And let me get full screen. And they, instead of, Green Arrow used to date Black Canary. Instead, they have the Black Partridge. and she looks and dresses like Shirley Partridge from the Partridge Family. But it, just like the last issue that was a great spoof on 1960s comics, this is just a load of fun, and the more you know about comics from that era, the funnier it is.
Mhm.
And there's jokes about Watergate and stuff.
Mhm.
So it's a really fun comic. So I just wanted to say that, and it's good for adult comic book fans to read because of all the references.
Yeah. That's cool.
And it turns out this was only the 10th comic that Bongo published, 10th literal physical issue. And they talk all about publishing on recycled paper and trying to pressure the rest. This is in 1994, trying to pressure the rest of the comics industry to do the same.
Yeah.
And I don't know if current comics are published on recycled paper or not.
Probably not.
I'd like to look into that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
Well, Marvel probably is on toilet paper, so yeah, it's definitely recycled. Yeah.
Grayman said spoon. Yes, they have a spoon in here instead of a love in or a sit in. Let's see if I can find that page. Oh, I can't find it, but anyway, it's a fun comic. But yeah, they go to a spoon in with Reverend Dim Sum Moon, but who turns out to be the hypno head. So I read these with my daughter, but it's one of those bonuses of having kids that I then end up reading comics that are really great that I might not have tried.
So talking about the recycled paper or whatever, that sustainable paper. So the next thing I want to talk about is this volume of Green Arrow I have. And I was, do you remember, guys, I was talking to you about the paper. It really feels like a newspaper. So in here, if you make full screen for me, so I'll show it to you guys.
Oh, right. There we go.
It's, I don't know if it's gonna. It says Sustainable Forestry Initiative, certified. There you go. So, and this was published, and this volume was published in 2013. So I've been reading this Green Arrow because of those 3 mini issues, and it's a continuation of the storyline. Like it says, this continues with Mike Roll at Hannigan and Dick Giordano, and there's 6 first issues of that volume, start of that volume, and first issue looks like that, which is beautiful cover.
Nice.
And as like it was saying before in our previous chat, this issue, basically 6 first issues are covering a child killer. Then we have a biochemical weapon and gangs storylines in here. And honestly, all of them, the first issues are fantastic, and I really enjoyed it more than what that mini was. It's definitely, I actually already start looking to see if I can get hold of a second volume of this. Of course, there's an omnibus of Mike Rell's Green Arrow. If you guys are into omnibuses, which I would like to actually get, but now because I have this volume, it bothers me if I want to double dip. Yeah. Especially if something I can invest of omnibus size and price, you know what I mean? I could invest in something else. But the paper I was talking about, it's really great. I wish all the trades would be like this, or books printed or reprinted, especially in that era, because it feels more authentic and it feels like you are reading something from that era as well. So really good story. We having plenty of actions. The child killer story was really more intense than anything I felt. You know, like they gets into the part where you kidnaps, and then you have the stories like the little girls, and that mentioned children. It's kind of, I think when you start become a parent, you suffer a little bit more with that kind of storyline. So get touched to, you know, child molesters and stuff like that. Become paranoid of your child safety and stuff like that. So when generally really kind of realistic sense of the storyline, it felt like, you know, like really hating the character. He's been released after many years in prison because of like has way too much money. He's part of a wealthy family, and he gets like home arrests, but he has this giant castle, and we find out his family's secret money things. Apparently, his dad was in that time, like in the era where in America you weren't supposed to allowed to drink alcohol. I don't know, remember that time of their
Yeah.
so he was the one who's basically had the secret entrances, trapdoors and stuff like that. Trapdoors where you can see. So this guy was basically able to escape and find the freedom, like where our Green Arrow finds out the tunnel where he escapes into, to basically, because there's a witness. So one of the girls who is kidnapped before killing, she escaped, and he's basically trying to get to her and to kill her before the court starts and stuff like that. But he, of course, Green Arrow gets hold of him, and his demise is seen in his pages. So really good storyline. It's quite a like kind of sad story in a way, and then you have another complete twist and turn of biochemical thing warfare. So you have this satellite happening where Russia and Chinese get this space station working, and apparently in that space station working, they decided to create this biochemical weapon. And of course, to make the story more interesting, the space station drops into America, Seattle, of course, where the Green Arrow is placed, and basically two powers, Russia and Chinese, trying to get hold of that weapon, because if it's been released, it can kill the whole Earth, basically, or whole humanity, can wipe it out, because its power is to basically remove your DNA and basically completely, like make you not who you are and basically die. So that story was great. It's just like espionage type of storyline, which is actually really helps Green Arrow to be of this, like you have him. Oh, I'm an American. If I'm going to work for you Russians or whoever you are, like two sides, I'll lose my basically citizenship, because he's helping somebody of one of the bad guys. And you have the villain who was kind of like freaky, kind of like almost type of like like those nonchalant characters where you think it's normal guy, but actually behind him is like a really murderous killer, and he enjoys doing whatever he's doing as they call it professional. And then the last story in this one where you had gangs involved. This was probably out of all three storylines, gay bashing and killing. So that's part of the gangs initiations. That's what they were doing. And I enjoyed it, but it's more gruesome, and I don't know why, but I felt like it saddened me even more, kind of thing. It's really kind of emotional trait, to be honest, because of the child who, in the era of that time when they was written, it's a child of color who doesn't have a choice, but wants to live normal life, but because of a gang's influences in the places where they live, he doesn't have no choice and be part of it. So.
Looks like a different artist there.
Yeah, it does feel like, but it doesn't say it's not different artists. But I was surprised the same as you are.
It looks very different.
As you can see in here, you can see the creator Mike Rell and Ed Hannigan, pencil, and Dick Giordano. Obviously, the Inca changed. One of the Incas changed, so maybe that's why it has the feel of it. Yeah, I did felt the same way, but it's apparently the same creative team. So as I say, this gang-related story was, as I say, like seeing kids get involved in these situations, and where you have those kind of pimps and the bad guys, portrayal of the bad guys as well being, African American people, and then Green Arrow. It's really emotionally portrayed, and it's really lovely to read, to be honest. In a way, I was saying what they're trying to portray in this book and the storyline he was writing. So really well worked out.
That's great.
Yeah, it's definitely fun to read. As I say, this has made me want to read more. I'll really start to get into Mike Grell's writing more, because I wasn't familiar with him before. I mean, I didn't have given them a chance before, kind of stuff. So yeah, really good. I read it in like for me, it's a couple of days. That's quite 6 issues just like that to go through it. As I say, the stories was involved and let me continue being interested in it. And I even, as I say, was looking to see if I can get hold of the second volume, because honestly, it's well worth my time. it's getting to know your
Yeah.
Green Arrow, the way they were portraying him. Also, your typical kind of feel of the character, how he's using his, stealthy like situations, and in what he's like, he says what kind of stories he's writing in here. It's actually very interesting because it gets the sense of the era that it's been written. It's like, what, 80s, isn't it? 80s, something, 89, something.
Late 80s.
Yeah, late 80s was released, so it's really good. When that's
Yeah, it looks great.
yeah, and as I say, paper is beautiful, and it was like, it kind of feels like you like having those 5 issues or 6 issues of the comic book in your hand, and you just flip through it, and I like that. It makes your trade more authentic to me, and I kind of feel like I don't mind it's not hardback, even if it would be in hardback. I wonder, I don't know, you if any of you seen the omnibus inside of that. Of the storyline. I wonder what kind of paper they used, because reading this made me feel like it's very authentic, even though the cover is like really glossy and very kind of brand new, but inside is so nice. And I
Because
really
that
like
trade looks much more recent, hey? Because that's a newer DC logo.
Exactly. It's 2013.
2013. Okay. Yeah.
That's published in 2013, and they use that paper. It's like, why wouldn't you use that everywhere? Like, because the people are here saying why they're not using the paper, because it's the colors, everything, the art itself is just really, because I have like a couple of issues of this story in single issues, and I was paged them through, and they're almost identical, to be honest. Like, in a bit more paper is like older for me. Mine paper is a bit older, but still,
it's got to be a money thing why they didn't continue with it.
Well, it's, as I say, they say in here they use sustainable things, and I kind of like, would be nice to, like, people like saying like you're supposed to be more green. Comics should be going in that kind of sense as well, because at the end of the day, if you use something that's like sustainable forestry initiative they have, so at the end of the day, you're using so much paper to just produce something. So
all the DC omnibuses I have are on the slick paper, so I wonder if they did that. It would be too bad. But I like the matte paper for a lot of things. They don't use it much anymore in the mainstream comics.
Yeah, as I say, like a lot of paper changes, it feels like very different to me when you read the storyline, especially of what era it is. Like, like that Dead Man comic omnibus. Yeah. That paper, even though it doesn't have that like too glossy a feel to it, that's why it feels a bit better in the coloring of the departments, kind of thing, because the glossiness does take away a lot of, like I don't know, just like matte feel to it of the the colors was quite differently colored in that time anyway. So you want to have the sense of that different coloring, not the same what it used to be here, like what we're using it now. Like in comparison, now I'm talking about, like, I have read Last Ronin, and that's the issue 2 of this. All the speculated issues as well, and finally it came out. It took a while for it to come out as well, but you have your Eastman's snippets in there, which is actually really nice. But it's the glossy, nice cover, the paper is beautifully glossy and stuff like that. Yeah. But this one is Eastman is drawing the past of the turtles, so it's actually great. Yeah, it's actually really nice, because your original art is almost kind of like feels very manga-ish to me, to be honest, of the facial expressions and stuff like that, and the colors they used. But then you suddenly you go in the past, it's telling you the story of the past, and it's like, this is really nice. And because of like creator who has been doing the turtles from the original part, and he is the one who's story by Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, so Tom Waltz, so all of those original creators of this. So, and I was very. It has a couple of different styles of art. Like, it feels to be the future, the past, and the present. It has kind of different fields of the storyline. But what I was very surprised of how April is represented in here. She doesn't have an arm, and she doesn't have a leg. Wow. And the storyline is what if you read your turtle books, this is so much more wild and so much more grim and so much more like I don't know what you would say is, but it's felt very sad because I always lead my teenage mutants to be happy about stuff, like remembering the childhood, remembering all that, like animations parts. But this is actually overall the storyline. I didn't like the first issue. I already completely forgot what happened, to be honest. And I was debating in my own head, do I want to read it, to reread it, to continue reading this? But actually, I didn't have to. I really was, because I'm a fan of April in generally in as a character, and what she had to basically, the way she looks so aged and weathered, like her body is kind of like already had been through a lot. There's no more turtles in the storyline. There's only one left. Like that's why it's called The Last Ronin, and you basically find out it's slowly showing you what happened to the turtles. They show you that the past, how they were, what they were fighting, and they continue story of two families who's been like fighting, feuding throughout the era, and it seems to be maybe they're gonna show us what would happen. Really, the end, maybe it's the storyline. I don't know what if they're gonna do this kind of. I'm not sure what the idea behind the storyline. I'm as a fan just reading it because there is something new to read about the turtles, and it feels like like. Okay, maybe that other type of a storyline, like you have a Batman, for example, he had a different story. It feels that way, kind of thing. And I think people are mentioning that in every way, even though I think in comments, there's people mentioning stuff like that.
Yeah.
But this part
Tim was saying that it's something that they came up with in the 80s, as I said in previous comment.
Okay.
I thought that's what I saw, or maybe I missed it.
When they
anyway, sorry, go on, Rasa.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly, but anyway, I really enjoyed this part because of the past, and he is actually took time and drew pages because it's to basically have the sense of the being back doing reading original Turtles comic book. But it's so busy. This art is like I was so like I wasn't like thank God it has the overlines of the white, but I was kind of like. Jesus, so much black going on, but it did definitely remind me of those.
I wish there was a whole comic of just his art. I'm a little disappointed it's not all him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
yeah, but exactly because but I think it's kind of in a way it helps to have like the way you're trying to tell a story. Like you have a future, past, and the present, and the past is him drawing it. Right. So
he is the
past in a way it helps the storytelling. I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, and who is another character they have introduced, which I'm not going to say. This is the next issue will be. And I really like the cover, the cover for that because of Casey's helmet. And who, if you know Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, April and Casey was a couple before that. And they have a snippet of the future generation, maybe. So as I say, I'm not going to say who it was or what it just because it's so freshly come out and people invested in the story. But as a fan of Turtles, I'm liking it. I don't like the price tag, but I'm liking what I'm reading. So
how many issues are there supposed to be?
I think it's 3.
Okay. So it'll be one trade afterwards, probably.
But I'm not sure, to be honest, because I am like whatever comes out, I just pick it up and I'm enjoying it. It's like I'm not overly investing in information too much because $8.99 for a comic book itself. Yeah.
Sorry, that was just responding to a comment.
Okay. So
I happen to have Idris.
Yeah, $8.99 is per issue is quite steep for one, but you get your like you get extra pages. It's a better format. It's like you have. I don't know how many pages, to be honest. I didn't calculate, nor will I ever do that. But as I say, as a fan, I kind of wanted to get it like in continuation, whatever comes out now with Turtles, especially something that I knew, or a mini series, I want to pick it up sometimes, because Turtles has so many books coming out from IDW, like they have too many stories going on. I'm only picking up the main story, and this one was something curious, like Last Ronin, and that Ronin part, what got me into it, of course, Turtles as well. So, and then I wanted to talk the last thing about this. I don't know. The ha.
Yeah, Giver. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
So
you're not getting that one, are you, Terrence, or are you?
I mean, again, I just haven't made it to the shop in a couple of weeks. Yeah. Like, you know, my money comes and goes when it comes to comics, which is why I did a lot of trading this weekend. But I just haven't been. I want to get it, but honestly, like we were talking about earlier, the nonsense that I had with that first issue, it's kind of turned me off of it to some degree. I would like to check it out, and I'm sure I will at some time, but I'm not rushing to pick it up. No.
I enjoyed this issue more than I enjoyed issue 1. I enjoyed issue 1 quite a lot, but that ending was that this is more for me was round off storyline. For me, I got the beginning, the end, and like the middle and the end. And I feel like I don't have any more questions, because what this main character who you see on the page had to kind of go through, had like her like a childhood, and what she's basically doing, and what influenced her to become who she is now in this storyline. And I really, it's very another one heartfelt storyline. I love the art, by the way, and the artist is Zoe Thorogood, and this felt really like fantastic to look at. It had really good sense for me. It's sad, of course, but that's the story. Basically, at the big, like, 3rd page in, and you kind of got a snippet of what would happen in her future, in her past. And basically, she's the girl who grew up, the mother, who, of course, you have this Maxwell Prince weird obsession with clowns, and her mother, who never takes off the makeup of being a clown. And then she basically takes her daughter away to this promised land called Funville, and what happens in between, and how she basically makes the money in order to get to this for like dream place where they can start over again. You know, like that obsession for people have, where we're just gonna pick a car, we drive somewhere, and it's gonna be the best time because we're gonna live something, we're gonna forget everything, whatever happened in the past, and and then she has this her daughter driving. This was because of the state of mind the mother is. So basically, she's not really like how Damon would you say mother's state of mind was in this comic book?
Well, I mean, she's a paranoid schizophrenic, I guess.
Yeah. Good say.
It's a very powerful, it's a much more powerful story than the first issue, I think, because it really touches on real human experience.
Yeah.
Very deeply.
And then how parents with their own quips can influence your child's future. This is what kind of in a way says in the storyline.
The fate of a child whose parent is seriously mentally ill. That's a real thing that must be happening all the time.
Exactly.
And it's not examined too often.
And one of the saddest pages for me, it was this fireworks scene, which is supposedly happiest, but for me, I almost was going to cry, because she's like, Mommy, let's have some angels in the sky. And what she meant by angel in the sky is those fireworks. And it kind of a little bit destroyed me, but that's what the comic book was supposed to be. Do you know what I mean? It's supposed to have that. That's what Maxwell Prince is doing it when he's writing the storylines. It's basically gives you a little bit. I don't think this story had good stuff. I don't know if should I spoil it. I don't want to spoil it for people, to be honest, because I think it's just because for this artist, I think you should go and pick it up because it's a really nice comic book to read. I really and for me this is one of storylines. So for people who just wants to pick it up and have a sense of Maxwell Prince, I think this is good issue to go and just get it, and you kind of get sense of him, what he basically in the way wants to, right? And the next issue is gonna have this, which is absolutely completely different way of length of thinking what's gonna happen next. So I am actually kind of getting a little bit. I was thinking I will not like this, but I'm actually definitely enjoying it a lot, and I really like that I get a story from one issue, and where my headspace going with it, the way he's basically drawing in. It's a lot. I would like to see. I wonder if he actually has anything funny written, because so far whatever I've written or like read, it's very sad. It's like human brain. What it's actually quite. It reminded me what my human space, my brain was doing to me when I was depressed twice, and how vulnerable you are in that part of yourself, and what people don't like denies themselves of, when you are depressed, it doesn't mean that you can just switch it off because you don't have that button, unfortunately. You have to take a lot of damn crazy drugs, which zombifies you. And somehow the zombifying motion will switch off all your emotions, maybe put something back in your head where you wakes you up from this crazy dream you had, not realizing what's happening around you. So in that sense, as I say, this comic book gives me that. Like, I'm not afraid to look at it anymore because I have been through it. And I have people, when there's people saying, oh, I can't say anything to them. No, you can. You have to. It's your own self, because you can do something really bad to yourself without realizing you're actually doing it. And don't forget, if you're living with somebody else, they will have to go through it and look at you in a very different light. And you will tell you if you can keep that person next to you or not. So in that somber moment, let's stop talking.
It's a very serious book.
Yeah. No, as I say, I honestly...
Ice Cream Man is actually funnier than Haha. Although it's also got a lot of sadness in it, but it's got more cruel humor in it also.
I want to read more of this, to be honest. I'm okay with that. I kind of like now expecting, kind of have a sense of what, as I say, what I'm getting from this. And next issue, Haha comes out, I'm getting it. Because I'm curious now, because the pantomime can go really bad. I mean, it depends what he's going to say, but pantomimes can go to the extreme level. You can take them, like...
Right. Does he mean a British pantomime, I wonder, or...
Well, I don't know.
Americans don't really know much about the British pantomimes.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll see. But
I never knew about it till I visited my sister in England at Christmas, and she took us to a British pantomime. It's like, that's a pantomime? Well, I had no idea.
Yeah. It's actually quite a big thing. All the theaters are just pantomimes for that period of time in England. So. And this was lovely, as always. I don't have nothing else bad to say or anything.
Is that the most recent one where he fights the guy who thinks he's fighting evil demons everywhere?
Yeah.
That was incredible.
Blade of Gods.
Yeah, that was such a good issue.
But I was
and that's early. That's really early in his run.
Yeah. What threw me off now, this story, because it's the same story of the Wanderer's Road, but our dinosaur guy is appeared just in one panel. That friend of his.
I think there are other lizards in the world.
Oh, I see.
Because I've noticed them in current Usagi, and they'll just be lizards around, scattered around. Yeah. So I don't think it's meant to be the same one, but that was confusing.
I absolutely love. If they're gonna come out more with this stuff, I'm picking it up. It's fantastic. It's beautiful to read with your like. Some of them's kind of sad stories, but I think it's very good kind of educational part of this as well. But the art is lovely. The atmosphere is beautiful. The colors actually really work for me. I want more color in Usagi. And since I start picking at those, like whatever they come out in a couple of issues, absolutely loves.
I think he's a master of, sequential timing, the timing that makes a comic book really good.
Yeah.
And so even the simplest story just is timed so well that I love it.
Yeah, and that thing with what happens with the lightnings and in the story, it's really good. And how he draws the panels in here when the lightning strikes, and then you flip the page. That's what aftermath what would happen. So yeah, really good. One of the best things, I guess, in my pull is like you, Damien. I'm almost the same repeating. Like, this is the book I know will satisfy me to know from the first page to the last, and I will be so happy about investing that I shouldn't buy this anymore. It's just like comparison, a reminder of where maybe somebody's starting and the guy who actually knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but that's why
something that resonates with you more, right? Like it's just that's cool.
I guess as I say, I grew up with this kind of stuff. I like animals in generally, and more mortified. Like what is? I keep on forgetting that word. And the animals are talking. Anyway, but that's why I like the comic books in generally. You have representation of very good, already established like artists and writers to something new, and you can like kind of, if you want to compare, you can, or you just explore and see whatever clicks your buttons or makes you push and you want to go forward with that stuff.
Yeah.
So in generally my pull list, I kind of like, I'm happy with many things, even though I don't get that many, as you can see in the month. That's the most I've ever had, actually. This month was the biggest. Because I usually don't tend to have, I usually have like 5. My goal is 5 a month. It should be fine for me, just to get the sense of the new comic books. But there's a couple of books I have not received yet, like they're not coming out. Like Deadly Class hasn't been out for forever, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Samuel Trejo. Anamorphic. I can't even say it.
Anthropomorphic.
Oh, there you
It's
go.
a hard word to say.
Yeah, there you go.
A hard word to even remember. It doesn't.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So
funny animals.
yes,
Exactly.
Only Usagi's not funny.
Yeah. So yeah, I loved so far what I've read. But as I say, this one definitely. I'm honestly, Terrence, I think if you want, just pick this up on just this issue and just have a sense of it. You'll straight away know exactly. I mean, I think you should have a sense of what the writer is all about and what he does.
Well, I mean, it's only going to be 4 issues, right? Is that what you guys said before?
Yeah,
I think it's 6.
6. Okay.
6. Okay,
but it doesn't matter. Each one's a different story.
As I say. Yeah, you don't. As I say, you
all just like Ice Cream Man. Each you can read any one. You don't have to read them all.
Yeah.
I think when you have it on your pull, it's like you never know what the next one's going to be like. You go in each time not knowing.
I actually thinking definitely. I think I'm gonna just go random Ice Cream Man because I think I want the fix of this.
Yeah.
Because so far I'm kind of addicted because I like what he's doing with this kind of like couple of things. So
yeah, just pick up the Ice Cream Men that are affordable and just read those. And
to be honest, anything Ice Cream Man now is really hot, especially talking about online buying. Online buying is very difficult, to be honest.
Even the more recent issues.
The ones which come out, they come out, but then if you miss 1 week, let's say, because I'm pulling monthly, so like if I don't tell my comic back, he doesn't have anymore. He's like, no, I don't have it.
They should print more. That's crazy.
Well, it depends. You see, it depends if what your comic book shop wants to actually buy.
Right.
Johnny, and he's buying quite a few things.
Maybe he could reorder if they still have copies. You can.
No, I bet he. Yeah, probably he could.
Come later.
Yeah, but I think I was waiting for this to seeing if this writer is something I want to be reading more of, and it seems to be he is. So, and I want to see that Ice Cream Man thing, whatever I feel like it from one issue, like you say. So I'm probably going to be like asking to get one of the issues of Ice Cream Man and see how I feel about it.
Yeah.
So how are you doing, Rasa? Shall we call it a night?
I mean, I'm done talking because I wanted just to show whatever I've read. So I'm good. I have. If you have something else to talk about, you can. More than welcome. It's fine.
I think I've talked about all the ones. I'm gonna still do my comic book countdown. But I think there, other than the heavy metal, which is part of my weekly thing, I don't think I have anything special to mention.
Okay.
And
I am seeing comments.
The last couple that I have didn't really stick with me too much, and I'm not really super interested in talking about comics I didn't like. I'd rather focus on good ones that I did enjoy.
Yeah, I kind of like, that's the thing, when I start talking about I'm not liking that stuff and I'm dissing it, that's like, no, but people took their time to create the stuff, so that's why my head is like, oh, I'm trying to be good but not good.
Finding the good comics is always kind of a moving target. And that's harder because they're more expensive now. And people have been complaining about the price. And Roboto Someone 6 is really angry at comics now. But
which makes me wonder why Roboto Someone 6 is in a chat with comics.
Right. Well, he might have used to like comics.
You know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of thing. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know where he or she is coming from. But the thing is, I have sympathy for people who try to jump back into comics and they don't immediately find good ones, but keep trying and just ditch the ones that aren't good. And if you're not having a good time with Marvel and DC comics, that doesn't mean comics suck. You can try the indie comics, and there's bound to be something there good. But it
The
does
thi-
take work. It takes some looking around.
Well, and
The
that's
thing
the
is-
thing about like just kind of digging, right? Like it doesn't matter what it is. There's always good stuff out there. It's just, if you really want to take the time. I mean, like I said, all of these 50-cent bins and dollar bins that I've been going into lately. I mean, I'm finding, absolutely finding some stuff that then leaves the house again, but I'm finding some really interesting books, and stuff that's really appealing and enjoyable, but it does take time and commitment for sure.
Yeah. And if you're on a tighter budget, just find a store with a bargain bin and poke around there, and then there's less of a risk.
That's right.
You'll find some fun stuff. And even if you say, well, I loved comics in the 80s, as we all know, there's more comics in the 80s you didn't discover yet that you can find in those bins.
Yeah.
I think it's more thing these days is being overwhelmed to the amount of comic books you actually can see and what it is produced. And I think that lots of people like, what the hell, what do I want, what I like, because there's so many. And don't forget, you have those new, like Marvel and DC still going and kicking and doing whatever they do. But I think you should stick to what you think is a good comic book, like the storyline you like, your theme of the comic book you like, and go for that and try to find something new coming out with that stuff. Because I think it would help you to start to understand where the comics these days are. Because what's your perception of that kind of what you like the storyline is, I think that would really help you. And I think don't be afraid to ask. That's another thing. It's like a lot of daunting things, and it depends, of course, of a comic book shop how much they care. And these days as well, it doesn't help that the way it is. But I think YouTube in generally is a very good source for you what you like. There's lots of people who talks about new comic books, and lots of people are discovering. Sometimes I think like there should be a bit more choice, whatever people reading. Like a lot of people, which I, for example, I've unfortunately seen is lots of the same kind of things, nothing kind of like out of the, like something bizarrely more bizarre kind of thing comic book. So the first thing and foremost for me is always go with something what sticks to your mind, what's good. And I think it's always usually helps your brain to digest it and to realize what it is there to discover.
I do get nervous when people say, well, I'm not going to buy that comic then because you said it wasn't good, or I am going to buy that comic because you said it's good. Because everybody's different. You just have to know that you're trying things out and not go by anyone else's opinion.
It's the kind of like, I remember doing those videos and I was telling my opinions and stuff. I think it helps, like you, Damien, do your videos, say it's just my opinion, this is what I felt in that time in that moment. And then sometimes it is very emotional when you read what your state of mind is and what you feel, what you read. It really does involve that. I was never thinking that way. I thought like, if it's funny comic book, it's going to make my mood really better. Doesn't usually. Sometimes if you're in really rotten mood, even the funniest comic book in the world won't make you smile, to be honest. It has to be groundbreakingly funny, in order to make you smile. But I don't think that's really like difficult to find that kind of stuff. So
So architectural foam panels and columns, does that mean you're going to start making videos? Because if so, for that would be awesome. Very curious to see what you would talk about. That's very exciting.
Yeah, be sure to let us know when your videos start coming out if you do that.
Yeah.
Because
all
you've been a great commenter.
Bell icon.
Just give us a shout and tell us that you're out and doing your videos, and we're just definitely going to be there and see what you have to say. Because it's nice to see more people talking comics, coming back and talking comics. I love that.
Well, especially people who might have an interesting take, because I have a feeling that foam panels might have a really unique perspective on some things and really talk about some stuff that's interesting. You know what I mean? Like, I have a feeling there's going to be some unique insight there.
If you're feeling paranoid, you can do faceless videos, right? And you could even do something to your voice. I mean, my daughter listens to all these videos about things where people have changed their voices. I'm not sure why they all do that.
I think it's that being in public eyes for some people, they don't feel comfortable in. So don't show your face. Don't just put those comic books in our faces with your hands and just say you are the person, and then we will stick around and see what you have to say.
And check out Gore Vidal's channel. He's got some phenomenal videos. Never see his face. You just see his
We've
hands
seen
in
his
comic.
hand.
Yep.
That's all.
And it's amazing stuff.
Thoughts of how to do it without losing a human connection. Well,
I don't think there's that to worry about.
it's kind
Go
of,
ahead.
I mean, I think your voice maybe is more important. If you want to hide your voice, I think you do become a little less human sounding.
Yeah.
So that I don't know if how many people are being tracked by their voice recognition software. I haven't heard much about that.
Yeah.
But
Well, you never know who's
if
listening.
you're on the run from the law, I guess maybe that's an issue.
Yeah.
The next video, I'm gonna have my what is it called? Foil hat.
Your foil hat to keep
Yeah,
the UFOs
just
from
to
reading
make
your
it
brain.
myself more stand out, so people can look at me more. X-File-ish. Anyway, no, just joking.
But for people like us, if you're just giving your own take on comics and not just trying to be like everyone else, that's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
Talk about what you love or what intrigues you.
Clark and Jeans, just don't shoot your haul videos from the bathroom. Yeah.
That is copyrighted, and you'll be in big trouble if you shoot your haul in the bathroom.
Clark and G's gonna send all his lawyers to you, man. You'll be in trouble.
Okay, it's been a great. Or is there anything more?
No. I'm just saying it's nice to have a chat with you guys now. It's
actually,
nice to
oddly,
see
this is one of the few chats we've had where Gore Vidal did not show up.
Yeah, well, then just to mention that.
We miss you, Gore. I hope.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is a roving chat. It's usually on Rasa or Terrence channels. I put their links down below. So if you have not subscribed to them, definitely check them out and subscribe so you won't miss other fantastic conversations.
Oh, beautiful faces. Don't forget
beautiful faces.
Yes. We are in fashion. We're so famous.
You like people with glasses.
Yeah, we are people with glasses. We're so clever.
And it's every Sunday that we shoot for. It's sort of, between kind of, I mean, for me, Central Standard Time, 2 and 2:30 p.m.-ish, somewhere around there. And then whatever your time zones are, whoever's watching. But every Sunday, you'll find us somewhere.
8-ish p.m. UK time. GMT time, not what did you say the time was? I remember I just had the crack. I was laughing.
Yeah, Woodstock time?
Yeah.
Woodstock, yeah.
That then. Anyway, thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Damien, for hosting us.
Yes.
Oh, it was fun. So yeah, we'll see everyone again soon.